Hey everyone, I'm Adam.
Oh, hi, I'm Debbie.
And me, I'm Sunny Justice, and this is How We Horse. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And hey, Adam. Hey, Steve.
Hello.
Steve is from True Crime Web. He'll be joining us tonight. I recognize him from Marv Investigates channel. So I'm going to put up the link and that throughout the live here. And if anyone can go over to True Crime Web's channel, Steve's here, and then support him and subscribe and check him out. I actually didn't know you had a channel until the other day, actually, when you said that the mod had posted it. Peace Not Silence, she was just doing a great job at promoting other people's channels, you know. And yeah, I actually didn't know you had one until the other day. So I'm definitely going to check that out. I went to it, but I haven't watched anything yet. But
Same.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's only been on after Marv and Frank gave me the opportunity to on their platform. I got some messages and emails that said, "Why don't you start a channel?" So here I am, and
Yeah.
I'm only Wednesday will be my 4th week. So
congratulations.
Okay. Yeah, congratulations. So let's just wait some thank yous or hi's there. Hi, Sharon. How are you? Hi, Stuart. Support with Steffa. I'm very excited for this live myself. Yeah, I'm very intrigued and interested in what Steve is going to, be talking about today with the men and women intuition and then whatever other topics. So hi, John. How are you? Kimmy, Heather, thanks for joining us. So, okay, when we can start off, I guess, by telling the audience a bit about yourself and how long you were in the LE for and what you did.
Sure. I'm a 2nd-generation law enforcement officer, which means my father started in law enforcement back in the 60s and all the way through the 70s and into the 80s. And after he retired, some of the people he worked with, I decided that was a career I wanted to go after. And so I started in '85, worked in the jail, and eventually to the road, then into investigations, and got my, I guess, somewhere in the late 80s, the state of Georgia came up with this program that they was trying to get where crime scenes and evidence and all the collection and processing were more professional. And so this is pre-CSI that we have now. Everybody now, you can watch TV and you get, it's a wonderful thing that you can watch these shows, and there's a lot of truth in what they do and how they handle stuff. But it also creates that everything can be solved in an hour.
Yeah, 48 minutes, right?
48 hours.
Without looking to cut the commercials out.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I've looked across the room at a piece of evidence that's 10 feet away, and it takes me an hour to get to it sometimes. Due to that, you can't contaminate. You have to collect everything between you and that piece of evidence.
Yeah.
And so, but I have to say that with all the reality TV shows and everything with CSIs, it has put a certain amount of pressure on law enforcement to perform correctly,
right,
properly. That you are held to a higher standard now. If they can do it on TV, you can do it in my county or my city, and which I'm all for it. We should all be held to a higher standard.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway, after I got my state certification as crime scene tech, I think I was number 12 in the state in the first graduating class. I think they called my name number 12. But anyway, and so I got to go back and start the program. Now, back then when we was doing this, they went into areas that they now don't cover. They changed the curriculum because in the old school, when we first started, they just everything across the board. I mean, it took me, I think, almost 2 years to get through all the courses and classes and stuff, and which was vital and has paid off immensely now. But I did the crime scene stuff for about 15 years and worked everything as an investigator from thefts, shoplifting to homicides. So I've seen what so-called humanity can do to each other and the worst when there's certain opportunities and what certain people will do. And sadly, humans can do some extremely vile and horrendous things to their other humans.
Absolutely.
But then I retired, and of course, after you retire, you're no longer part of that community as much with law enforcement. But I still have those, I still do keep up with as much of the modern techniques and technologies there are. And I'll go around to schools speaking to students that have some of these vocational, that if they're going to go into the law enforcement career, which is a great career, but, you're going to be held, and there's going to be that when you get into that law enforcement family, there's a certain break from the rest of society, because there is you can't talk to there's certain cases and things that you can't discuss in the public, and so you can only discuss it with other people, and because no one wants to sit at the dinner table at your neighbor's house and hear about the horrors that's happening across town.
We do. We'll come to dinner.
I was going to say, I'm there.
Well, which this is a totally new field for me. Like I said, I got into this with Marv and Frank, and they kept sending me materials, and I kept trying to help them with their content. And it's been I can't say it's a dream come true, but I do think it's a way that I can continue to pay back. I hope that during my career, I had a great impact to the positive side of society. I hope I did. I got to participate in a lot of things, from being a SWAT team member to hostage rescues to going in and doing those entries into drug houses, drug raids, and arrested, thousands of people, domestic, both men and women. Some of the most memorable, most violent arrests ever made was of women. When y'all,
all right.
No, when y'all decide to go to war, you decide to go to war. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
No,
And
not women.
oh yes, but then again, there's the positive side and the brilliant side of what women can bring to the table, as far as intellect, as far as what we was discussing the other night when you was intrigued by the women intuition. That there's certain studies and scientific backings too that women are and do have those capabilities to analyze on a level that men can't analyze
I probably agree.
on. That's from just a old country boy that picked a career in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
How do y'all feel about law enforcement officers? Where do you think that we stand in the web sleuth community as far as law enforcement?
I mean, for me, I think we all personally love it.
Okay, good.
Like, meaning, this is what I was going to ask something about you, actually. So, like, I've watched Duty Ron, Mike King, what's his name from Interview Room. There's a CD that comes on. I literally personally love it. And I'm wondering myself, actually, Steve, do you feel that the new era, the new way, is that sleuths of the internet are impacting in a good way? Do you think that basically it is the way that to help, with cases? We've seen so many things from the internet derive from helping, because again, you got this brute force of people out there, more manpower than I'm sure most could have. And do you find that it's helpful?
It is absolutely one of probably the most underused, undervalued resource to law enforcement. Now, some of the law enforcement officers and sheriffs, like Grady Judd, I mean, he recognizes that the sleuth community, web sleuths out there, are a vital thing. Used to, when we put a lookout in, the only way you got lookouts is that you had to go buy a newspaper.
Yeah.
Yes.
And some people just didn't get no information until it was Sunday morning, and they had their Sunday morning paper, and they went in there and saw, oh, so and so up the street got killed. Now everything is at instant, and so everyone can learn everything and be made aware, and the resources that are at our fingertips. This is not just something that is a ship passing in the night. If it's used properly and everyone understands and works towards a common goal, man, what an impact we can have on our society to a positive effect. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
No,
I mean, honestly, even like with the Amber Alert stuff, I mean, as fast as it comes out, we're sharing it, and it's just like wildfire. It can, that stuff, like you said, Steve, was not there growing up. And, the internet is like such a great tool, and yet used for such a bad tool by some people as well, unfortunately. I mean, it's one of those things that's never going to go away. But I love the fact of, like, yourself starting a channel, because honestly, for me, I love hearing stuff because you lived it. This is your life that you live. This is your career. And it's so nice to have someone with the ability to tell us like things that we just don't know, and then, like I said, you're going to talk today, and I'm just going to be all ears listening here.
right.
And a lot of times when I'm in chat on other channels, people misunderstand some of the times of what I'm trying to say. Like last night, I said, we don't know what we don't know. I was talking about first person when Deb was talking about that, about some of the crime scene stuff, that when law enforcement first arrives on a crime scene, sometimes like in this, of course, we know it was after a search on, if you're looking at the Delphi, but there's many cases, it doesn't matter. But when you walk in there and someone has come home and found a loved one in a back room, bedroom, or in a hallway that is deceased, and we don't know if it's something from natural causes, is it something self-inflicted? Is it something that is a homicide? We just don't know. And so as you approach this stuff and you don't know who's in the house, that may have caused some of these things. And so It's extremely dynamic, very fluid crime scenes, and we don't know what we don't know until we start placing ourselves on into the scene. And scenes can grow from one room, one house to a neighborhood or to a whole woods. And, as you start backtracking and start more information is revealed through the investigations. And it's like an Easter egg hunt. And who doesn't like a good Easter egg hunt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So in saying that, before we get into I know a lot of questions going through my mind and Adam's mind and the chat's mind. Do start us off with the whole men versus women intuition and about interviews like you were talking about. And go ahead. I'd love to hear about that.
Well, through some of the trainings and stuff, and then working, when I first started law enforcement in the agency I was with, women were on the road, even in the 80s. Now, they did come on. There were some in investigations, but they weren't really integrated into the road patrols. And so when I first was able to start working with a lot of the women was on later in my career in investigations. Our sheriff, of course, these women were all, they were certified law enforcement officers and had went through all the training, schooling, and had done, they'd worked in the jail, and they may have bypassed some of the road duties, but now that changed on into our department. That started changing around the early 90s that they started working road duties. And,
Steve, Steve, what year did you say you started?
I started in 85.
85. Okay. At that time, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but did women mainly work in like the sexual crimes unit when they were like when
they did? They did. They were and still do.
Yeah.
And there's a good reason for it because exactly feeds into this intuition stuff. When you get a woman upset about someone that's attacked a child, they will not let go.
Right. And I can see if a woman was sexually assaulted, she wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable with a man.
Some do, some don't. It's strange, and even that, but even sexual assaults against adults or children, but women they take it personal, and men do too. Law enforcement officers do too, but as far as male counterparts and stuff, that there's certain of the intuition part of there's studies out there say, is it biological or is it evolution? And I absolutely believe it is so. I have, I'm just, like I said, I'm not any type of formal training of that part of being able to go in there and say I've conducted studies and I've reviewed all these publishings, but I have seen it, where you be answering a call and your female partner, whether it be an investigator or a female deputy, that would sit there and all of a sudden they would act. The man be talking to you, and they had either heard something or saw something from their perspective, and which I didn't. Over the years, it's been done that women can hear inflection, they can hear tone of speech patterns better than men can. They're almost a walking, talking live polygraph machine, and so they're very valuable in all fields. Whereas you can teach people how to analyze, you can't always teach emotion. Especially, you can't teach men to stay in contact. Either we're in contact with our emotions from the get-go, or we're not. And even if you could teach a man to be more in contact with his emotion, I don't know how long it would last. Me and my wife, we have great discussions about some of my mistakes in my life, of how
That was funny.
but it is. It's but I every time that I spoke to a female officer and asked what happened, because I'd be over here talking to one, and all of a sudden I look, and they're starting to effect an arrest, and they said, he was about to do so and so. And there was a lot of times we found weapons on him that we didn't even know because we hadn't went to the point of doing a hands-on contact yet, that we're just there. And so I know I'm sure that they saved me a few injuries in my career.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have to agree. I just, just like females are the mothers and nurturers. I think to myself as you're talking about this, as like if I typically go ask my husband, or it doesn't matter, it was, hey, can you go get me a drink from the fridge? Well, he'll go get me that drink from the fridge. Women see a sock on the floor, ketchup on the counter, we'll start putting that away. It's because we multitask, I think. Well, I'm not always the best multitasker, but in saying that, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, for me, it's just a natural ability that I know that I've always had. I think that Adam, and I've come across some men that are very intuitive themselves. I just think that women have a lot more emotion I don't know how to explain it, but I definitely feel like women have that definite emotion of, like, it's like that red little, I don't know, red alert that goes off in my head for me. Again, I'm always focused, and I don't mean to actually, Steve, but I'm always focused on what somebody is saying, how they're saying it. I read between the lines. I look at their face. I look to their eyes. Their eyes to me are their soul of who they are. And it's just those cues. So like if I'm in a room at work and I feel somebody's negative aura come in, they don't even have to speak yet, but I can tell just by their body language. It actually sets me off on a different course for that day until I've somehow maybe joked around, made the person happier or something. Because someone else's emotions really affect, because I can feel them right away.
Absolutely. And I believe that's the case. Now, there's some, just like, there's some women out there that have higher instinctive levels than others, because I've seen some of them, just like I've worked with some men that were, dumb as a sack of rocks. I mean, you every now and then you'll find some people that just untrainable, that you think, oh goodness, what did we do to deserve this? I was a training officer for many, many years, but I did find it was that men far more fail in accomplishing, and I guess that's due to that women work harder to achieve than what some of the men do, that they take for granted that they're going, just due to the fact that I'm 6'2", I weigh 200 pounds, and I can handle any situation, and so I'm a given, I'm gonna get the job. But they have trouble getting home at night. They can't figure out how to get, they have limited capacities.
So what are some of the things that your wife felt like that as you said, you were
I'm sure there's a list somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, that after my father passed and we came back to my properties, and I built my home, I learned the first deer season that at sunrise, and there's a deer standing out in the field, don't open the foyer door and shoot down the hallway with a deer rifle and wake the wife up from a sound sleep. They take that very personal, and they take corrective action against that. It's second nature to me. My whole life I've been a hunter, and it also, even in law enforcement, you're typically a hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
Those
plenty of women fire guns in the house while their husband's asleep.
Of course, right?
Typically at them.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I have seen that.
That's funny. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so in interviews and stuff like that, do they typically have the female to soften? In a sense, like good cop, bad cop, like, do they typically bring a woman in to more soften the guy? Or like you go in there maybe with two men and then, it's just that women do typically have that softer, that they have the ability to be softer and more gentle, almost like, hey, like just think of me like your mom, like you're talking to your mom, you know. This
Well, that's very interesting, um, intuitive of
Right.
where you're going with this. For the fact of this, that interviews are goal oriented, and when we look at a personality of an offender that we're in there interviewing, we already know what type of information we want. Now, whoever's the first contact with them may be male, and they go through this. Of course, you have the formal greetings, reading of the Miranda rights. You build a rapport, and you can take a break and bring in that if this personality, because there's certain personalities out there that have no use for women, they have no respect for women.
Right.
So from their perspective, you brought in a woman, it's insulting to them. So there's certain interviews you can't do, but there are certain personalities that if you read that this is a man who is not one of those sociopath, narcissistic psychopaths that absolutely has no use for a woman and will use and do whatever type of violence they have to. But if you do have someone that may have had that they will respect that nurturing, they have great respect for the mother and for women, you can absolutely destroy them with another woman going in there and interviewing them.
Yeah. The Chris Watts case always comes to mind with me.
Yeah, it's all part of a strategy. Nothing nowadays in law enforcement is not a strategy. I mean, we've come a long way from the John Douglases when they first started to who's there's a guy here on the internet that does profiling.
Kelly. John Kelly.
John Kelly. Although he wasn't with the government agencies, I think he was more as a consultant. I believe. I'm not sure, but I think so. But yes, there's certain times that, and always, like you look at certain crimes and certain things. Even the John Benet Ramsey letter. When you look at it, do you think it's written by a man or by a woman? And
Woman
so,
wrote that.
Okay. And how about you? You agree?
I agree.
My wife does too. And so, me, I don't know. I don't have that intuition. I just do analyze anything and everything I can as we go along. And but now if it was 50-50 and I had 3 men telling me it was a man and I had 3 women telling me it was a woman, I'm going to go with the women.
Yeah. I agree. Again.
Yeah. I mean, no matter how slim the intuition studies are, there is an indication that in certain with the emotional responses and understandings that women will win out. And so, whatever you do in life, just like casinos, they play by that slim margin. And so I'm not going to throw the baby out with the dishwater or the bathwater,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an incredibly interesting study. Just if you take crime out of it altogether, if you look at intuition with men versus women, because there are weird contradictions with it, but I mean, it's fascinating to really study, because men are much more impulsive. They're much more, men are usually typically driven by ego, but at the same time, they're considered more analytic. They're considered more.
I was going to say more analytical, and
so there's there's weird contradictions with so I find it really fascinating though. So all across the board.
Yeah, I mean there's different when you analyze certain things and from certain perspectives, we're men, and one of my superpowers is that I recognize I don't understand how women think. That's my biggest superpower. That I absolutely do not understand, and my wife has proven that to me a lot of times that what she told me to do is not what I thought she meant that I did.
I know. It's called mind games.
Yeah, everyone's gotten the response, I'm fine.
I know, I'm fine.
And that does not mean I'm fine.
I know. Yeah.
No. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's kind of like when I think Keegan Klein said something like, I don't know why I made the account. Yes, you do.
Right.
Yes, you do.
And
You exactly know why you made that account.
right.
You know.
And he's another one that they used a woman that, and he seemed to have been very much more comfortable when he talked to her back in 2017 than when he was talking to the two men in the interrogation in 2020. You know what I'm talking about? Because he said, oh, before there was a woman that she was kind of motherly. So,
yes. In the child services, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Keegan Klein and that murder sheets and the transcripts, that's amazing that when you break down that interview and where you find and you start looking at where they were focused, what they were aiming for, because like I said, law enforcement just don't wake up one morning and say, oh, I ain't got anything to do today. Let's go pull somebody out of a cell and talk to them.
Right.
There's a certain reason and process of doing it, although that was 2 or 3 years ago. But with the filings and the revelations being this year, it does give you some hope.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I always find it interesting with that transcript, especially to try to read between the lines of, when the police choose to bring things up versus letting the criminal bring things up, because I know that's all strategic. So I know that like there were things in that transcript where Keegan would be talking about one thing, and a cop one of the cops would all of a sudden ask something completely out of the blue about something else, there was an intention with why he would ask that question. So it's always fascinating for me to try to read that kind of stuff, like why do you ask those names, why do you ask that address, and
yes, absolutely, for the fact that there's more cues to just what the answer is. If you're looking at that person across the table, and that's where the women, they're always someone watching on the camera system. If there's not a woman in the room, if it's a certain individual, you most certainly want them out there so that they can read those body cues, like Sonny was talking about. She could see from postures and stances and movements of what certain things and certain reactions. Because when someone's chain of thought is in one direction and you flank them out of nowhere with something that they're not expecting, they may give you an answer pretty quick, but there may be certain facial features, certain facial movements, certain body movements that say, uh-oh, where do I go with this real quick?
Steve, that I'm just, as you're saying that, this is reminding me a little bit of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case when Camilla kept coming at Amber Heard, it was like boom, boom, bullets coming right at her. And that's what I loved about Camilla. It threw her off of her game. And it's kind of like she just had to, she was just getting thrown, question, and you could just tell it's almost like she went into her little panic mode because she wasn't prepared, I don't think, for that, but it was almost very humorous watching it.
And I wish interviews and interrogations, they were forced to answer like they are in court.
I know.
Because in there, they can shut down any time. And so whenever you're asking these questions, you have to give that offender the thought process that they're winning. Because if they're just getting beat up, they're just going to look you in the eye and say, I want an attorney. Right. I want my mama.
You got to kind of know when to draw back, right?
Well, that's another good question. I was thinking we're talking about that. So obviously when you're talking to people, say that you've brought into the station and whatever, and then all they have to do is say, I want a lawyer, and then not talk to you guys. Why is it that some people that are clearly guilty start talking, meaning they're lying? But I don't understand sometimes why they even open their mouths, without just going, I want a lawyer.
Well, you're talking about a personality that thinks that they're better than you are. They're smarter than you are. They're in more control. They can control the situation. That, oh, you don't have anything on me, and I'll prove it. So you get these people that are narcissistic, and they just won't shut up. And,
I know, right?
Bless their souls.
Right. Who was that killer in South Carolina that kept the girl in the container?
Yes.
Todd someone. Yeah. He was. I watched a lot of police interrogation videos, and he was he had two cops in there that were both men, and he was so narcissistic and egotistical. He was bragging about how he thinks the women liked it when he would abuse them, and and how he would do this to them and do that. Like he was almost trying to be buddies with them.
Well, and in his fantasy world, that's what he thought that was a great romance. Everything was beautiful. I gave her
one cop was like,
I gave her the best
yeah.
container out in the lot.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are sick. They have a fantasy life that is not ours. We don't, and trying to place ourselves in their fantasies is, you just some of these predators. It's impossible to understand where they're going, how they even reach that, and how they were created.
Right. It's fascinating, though.
It is, absolutely.
And sometimes it's really sad. I mean, like I was watching the Parkland, that kid that shot those kids in Florida, the Parkland shooter.
Yes.
I mean, that interrogation was just hard to watch because, the kid just murdered like 19 people, and he's sitting in there just having a conversation with a cop like normal.
Oh, yes.
And not even comprehending what's going on in his head. How it was weird,
Oh, yeah. There's so many, there's so much evil out there. We pass it every day, and we just don't recognize it a lot of times in our lives.
Right.
Until it knocks at our door.
I was going to say, like being in the true crime community for me, Steve, I'll say it's been a big eye opener of what people really don't know and see what's around them. That, like it's amazing what I've come to learn just in true crime, what's unearthed underneath. And it's very sad, scary, frightening, maddening, all of the above, to know that judges, prosecutors, that these people are involved in these, you know what I mean? It's just.
Absolutely. The repeat offenders, our court system and our jail systems and sentencing is a failure. When you have repeat offenders are going out there, that these predators that feed, especially upon children, there's no cure for them, other than a lot of dirt. And that's about the only way to handle it. And, and the court systems, they say, okay, this is the maximum amount of time, or they're good behavior, we let them out, and they go out and repeat and offend and destroy more children's lives.
Right. Or statute of limitations.
Oh, it's a failure. And I don't, can you legislate your way out of that? I most certainly wish they would. But it's just a sad situation with our court systems.
Mm-hmm. Quick story, Steve. Back when I was a child, like I said, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but anyways, me and my sisters and brother and that, we went to a park, and on my grandma Reenie's funeral day, and we went to the store, went to a park, didn't tell our mom that we were going to the park, went to a school. This guy comes up to us and says, "Hey, can you help me find some missing school things?" Sure, absolutely. He separates me and my brother, my twin sister, and my other sister. And, fast forward, we start going down the hill, and I see the guy running across to this. I call it the Ethel car because this is back in the day. Anyways, my older sister, we didn't know till like 10, 12 years later that she was raped by the paper bag rapist. That's what he still is known as, the paper bag rapist. We were probably one of the beginning of his stories. And let me put it this way, and like we were talking about a little earlier, as a mother, I didn't realize that these emotions would come full force when I gave birth to my son. My job was to protect him, love him, care for him. I would have the most horrendous nightmares when he was in school because of it. It didn't bug me when I was little up until I had my son. And then all this stuff came out. So some people might look at it as overprotecting and stuff like that. But I was dead set that nothing was going to happen to my son. And like I said, these nightmares, because it happened on a school ground. If my son wasn't in his chair or in his class, when I looked in the window to see, I would have anxiety so ridiculously bad. But now, so what I was going to say was this gentleman himself, he'll go to his parole hearings and he will say, "Don't let me out. I will reoffend." Yeah, I will reoffend.
And it's a sad state of affairs that when the offenders know it and the courts don't, or they say, okay.
Because he probably would have been out, to be honest, if it wasn't for his own doing and saying, "Look, I mean, he did this for years. They ended up not needing our particular information because there was so much that he did after the fact. But it was one of those things. One, we could have ended up like Libby and Abby, right? You know what I mean? Murdered.
Yes, absolutely.
For absolutely. And it was like, honestly, when I look back at it, I just think how stupid we were. So that's why I love this whole true crime thing, because we can bring awareness. Oh, Dave Dean became a new member. Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. But that's kind of like what I love about this whole true crime thing, is that we can bring awareness to Delphi. We can bring awareness to a bunch of other cases, and that's really what it's all about, trying to protect others, help others, make others aware. Like listening to you today will give me a lot of insight into stuff that I didn't know, or now we'll have to all rethink about, things. And that's what I love, is learning somebody else's knowledge that obviously I didn't, work in true crime. I can look at photos, but you know what I mean? But it's just nice to, like I said, have someone that's, here telling us about what it's like, how it is. And again, the woman, pardon.
Yeah. I say it's an honor, but I have a question for you.
Sure.
Being in that position when you was a child,
yep.
and being female, at what age did you start realizing and started fearing the possibility? Because at that age, obviously, you didn't see the warnings, you didn't feel the fear.
Correct.
But what age does a woman start doing that? I've never asked that. I'm just curious.
At what age does a woman start
doing the women intuition that, oh, this might be bad, this might be dangerous?
Oh, it was okay. So when I agreed, as soon as the gentleman said, when we showed him a bike, and I was 7 years old, 8 years old, 7 years old, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, no, something's wrong. Meaning my intuition, I would say that I really started to notice it was around that age of about 8 years old. And I just thought it was, I didn't think nothing about it besides, I didn't think nothing about it. It didn't have a label. It just had that I could tell he was lying. And as soon as that happened, I was like, Kenny, we need to go find Tanya and Paula, and so then it was just like off we went. And then, but anyways, it was about 8 that I could actually pick up on people's things that they were saying. It was kind of like when you feel like you're just born with it, really. But that would be the age that I would say that I noticed that I could read people and feel their emotions and around me. And, for me.
Well, and these predators, they know it's, they bait the field for the prey they're looking at. Here's a new puppy, here's a baby puppy, or can you help me find my puppy? Or here's some candy, or your parents told me to come and get you, and they're over here looking for you. There's so many tricks that these predators use, and not only just on children, they do it on full-grown women. I mean, Ted Bundy, can you help me load my boat? Can you, your car's been broke into. These predators, that the risk factors that they'll take to prey upon whatever their fantasy life and their target, whenever they do target. And, you may not become a target of some of these predators. It may be, like I said on another show, that you may become a target 5 minutes after this predator sees you, or it could be 5 days, or it could be 5 months. BTK, he targeted multiple victims over a long period of time. He worked a murder book of different victims that, and that he could pick and choose from. So all these people and all these predators out there, I mean, it is a dangerous world that we are in.
Steve, you'll probably remember, obviously, this case, like most people. In school, they made us watch the Adam Walsh case, and that scared the shit out of me. I was so horrified about that when I watched that case. He was lured with candy, and obviously, we know John Walsh became a spokesperson for his advocating for his son and other people in America's Most Wanted and other shows. And but that case they actually made us watch, and that's probably when I truly understood. So I was about 12, 13. That's truly kind of when I understood just the impact of what could happen to somebody that can easily be lured.
Right.
It's because they are, like, and just like on the internet, the tricks just keep getting better and better in a sense, and what they're doing. Like when I was talking with Tiara, she would talk about in the underground there how it was really an older gentleman talking to the girl, the boy, but the person's acting like they're a girlfriend, and then they show up at the door going, "Oh, I'm the father here to pick you up," or da 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 da. And next thing you know, that person's abducted, sold into the trafficking world and stuff like that, beaten, whatever they, is.
I had the privilege of responding to a call to a state park one time where a young child was swimming within the swimming area at a public beach, and there was probably 50, 75 people there, and this male predator decided to abduct a child out in the water and was going to swim over to the side and abduct the child, which didn't go over real well with the parents. Uh, when we got there, he was tied up with everything from life vest straps to belts. But I mean, some of these people, the risk factors and what they'll do to get a victim is just, now some of them are, they may have some type of psychosis or mental issues, and so it's not just all the ones that are higher IQ. You get some of the lower unorganized predators. They make a lot of mistakes. The highly organized predators,
Right.
Just like, they may be able to trick that woman's intuition that, they got such a good game plan of how that they'll knock you off your game of being able to defend yourself, and or trick you into thinking that they are the most caring individual, and they're going to be the love of your life for the rest of your life, which may only be an hour or two. But, like I said, some of these people are evil and wicked.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing. It's so scary, honestly. And I actually, go ahead.
It's interesting for me because I'm a child of the Adam Walsh generation. I mean, that happened that it was 1980, I believe, right? And so I was born in 81, so my entire life that's been something that, even being male, that's always been something that was, that's been a presence in my life. Even as a child, you don't go white vans, people asking for candy, and so that's, to hear the two of you talk, it's interesting to hear, having learned it later in life, whereas I'm like, it's been right there for my whole life, plus milk cartons, all of it, Jacob Weatherly, all of those cases,
Yes.
Always were front and center. And I was a cute kid. Can't complain.
He's so shy. He is.
Narcissist.
They would have brought me back like an hour later. They were like, nope, too much.
Yeah.
There's a movie actually made back in the 40s or so. I think it's something called Red Chief or something, about a kid that was so destructive, and he was kidnapped, and the parents wouldn't take him back until the kidnappers paid him. It's a great, cute little movie. It's the foreshadowing of Dennis the Menace. I mean, he was a nightmare, but it's something. But it was a movie I enjoyed watching. I like old movies.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, and I don't want to. I know you have a whole thing that you want to talk about everything. I don't want to take.
Oh no, I'm yours.
I think a lot of people confuse these two things, and I don't know if you even know when it comes to criminal investigations, but I think a lot of people confuse instinct and intuition. And I mean, do you have anything like that you could go off of with those and the differences on that?
Well, it depends if you look at it from what is the instinct, because predators have certain instincts and certain intuitions and certain things of how they read victims. And then we as humans, that we have certain things that, some men are absolutely fearless. They'll go anywhere. They don't rely upon any instincts. They don't care. They're risk takers to the day they die.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you got people that, there's nothing wrong with people jumping out of perfectly good planes, but I'm not going to go do that. But and I some of the instincts that people have and have ability of it, I think it's a real fine line there.
Okay.
Of just from what I personally that I could see where you could exchange intuition and instinct.
Right.
And that women will have naturally, that let's not walk on the dark side of the street. Let's walk on the lighter side of the street.
Right. And because that's instinct, when we all get those responses, when you're walking to your car and you feel something and, someone's behind, that to me is what I would think of as instinct. Whereas intuition would be just seeing someone and knowing there's something off with that person.
Yeah. The intuition, I think intuition is defined. I got it here somewhere. Intuition. Oh yeah. That they describe intuition as a scientist is something that's processed unconsciously and automatically with little cognitive effort. And so you're right. It's something that they see or hear and that they go off of. Whereas instinct is it might be something that's even before that you don't have to see or hear anything. And you just instinctually understand that walking under lights is safer than walking in the dark.
Right.
Yeah.
But it can go both ways, I guess.
Right. I think that's why I ask, because I think they overlap a little bit, and so it can be confusing.
Yeah.
Can I say something about this actually? Because some people that watch me here or watch or just others in real, for me, my intuition and whatever. Some people deem that as arrogance or cockiness, and actually, it's not about neither nor. It's about having that ability to be very intuitive and with tune with people that I will not take away from myself, who I know I am as a person. So
Right.
when others try to do that, fine, go right ahead. You're not impacting me at all because I know exactly who I am and what I stand for and my abilities in a sense that I have. One of my best traits is that I love people and I love being intuitive. It's not that it was I had to learn it. It was just one of those things that some people have good knacks at working with their hands. Some people have good knacks with, intuitiveness and people. I never, like I said, it's not like I sat there and took a course on it. It was just naturally given. And, I've had so many people throughout my life, go, how did you know that? How, like why all the time? And it's just kind of like in my head, I just go, I know, type of thing, because it just becomes like almost to the point that you're like, whoa, like at first as a child, you think, that you don't really think nothing about it. You think that I thought everyone thought the same way. And then when you get older, you realized that there's your people that are very intuitive, very instinctive. And then there's your nimwits that have no clue what's around them and stuff like that. And it's just each to their own knacks. But my intuition or whatever is not cockiness or arrogance. It's that I know who I am and I know when I'm being lied to. I'm not going to say I'm 100% right all the time. Of course not. But am I fairly almost like up in the 90s for accuracy? And I'm talking about just my intuition. Yeah, because it's like a storybook that plays out in front of my face. It's like I already know that somebody's going to ask something before they even ask it. And then in my head, I just go, yeah, called it. It actually makes me laugh because I just, but I always assumed when I was younger that everyone was the same way. And I realized that, no, there's people that are oblivious in life. There's people that are good at things, So, yeah. So it's just one of those things. Like I said, it's not cockiness or arrogance. It's just knowing who you are as a person and just knowing where your own strengths lie,
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, all of us have strengths, and me, I was just, my daddy told me one time, he said, if you're going to be stupid, you better be tough. And about 5 years later, he said, Steve, you're the toughest man I ever met. And so I don't know exactly what that meant, But
sounds like he had wit, and that that's something that's something that comes from the gut too. Not
oh
everyone's
gosh,
born with it.
yeah, he came through hard times. He came through the depression, and so he appreciated hard work and hard men.
Yeah.
And I most certainly appreciate them. Now, Support with Steph a while ago made a comment about intuition that is far better than any explanation. She's in the field, pay a lot. There you go. She's in that field,
Right.
and actually, I've been talking to her some, and we're going to actually talk some more because I need some insight as I create stuff. Like I say, I don't know everything. And I go to the people that do that, that if there's, I'm smart enough to know that I'm not the smartest man in the room. And so you go to the people that know in certain areas and gather their information, use it to the best benefit to progress whatever your goal is. And you'll get there a lot quicker than just beating yourself against a brick wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I personally, as a male, I think I have a lot more intuition than a lot of people. And I'm not being arrogant when I say that. I just, I just really do. And I don't know if it's because I'm surrounded by so many women. I don't, I'm not sure, but.
Can I make a comment to that? Because for all the, say, gay men that I've known in my life, I always found that they were much more in tune with their feelings and emotions from my own personal experience. I just feel like I don't know, but they were just, I could connect very easily, just like I connect with you. I could connect throughout my life just because I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things that the men that I've personally known have been very much in touch with their own feelings. Don't know. That's how I see it. That's how I've always seen it. Whereas say my husband's very much in tune with his own, but yet he's very he likes to see things as well, and he's very where we just speak with our hearts, right? Like me and Adam, like I said, we just kind of speak with our emotions and our hearts, and I don't know.
Well, I'm weird because I don't know if you know anything about like personality, like Myers-Briggs, the personality test. But
absolutely, yeah.
Like I know myself, I'm an ENTJ, which is interesting because it's intuitive is one of the ones they use.
Yeah.
And then the other one is thinking. And the two, you don't have a lot. I think 1.8% of the whole world are people in my category. So I use both analytical thinking and intuition almost equally. So it's weird because I'm like, I'll know something immediately, but then I have to do critical thinking and analysis to prove it to myself.
Yeah, I went up north with another investigator one time. We was taking some evidence to the FBI crime lab, and then we was going to go on up to New Jersey to interview an individual about some information on a homicide. And this was just a month or two after 9/11. And so we decided we was going to go down to ground zero, and we got in New York. And I'm old Georgia boy driving to New York City.
Ooh.
And I don't know if you've ever been on the streets of New York City, but it's a very haphazard way they drive on the streets. But anyway, my partner was in charge of the map as I was driving, and his intuition and instinct absolutely sucked. I mean, I asked him, how do we get off this island? Because we was over there, and I said, how do we get off here? And we drove for 10 miles. He says, you need to turn right back there behind us, and I told him just put the map down, and it was in the afternoon, and I said, I'm just going to drive west until I find some way to get off this place.
My intuition tells me not to drive in New York. That's how intuitive I am.
Well, like I said, I'm not the smartest man in the room. I thought I could navigate it, but I learned not to.
Right. And I actually think people that are intuitive are actually better with directions as well. Not necessarily like, being organized in the way they do it, but just sensing and knowing how to get back to places and just following direction that way. But
yeah.
But I'm just really fascinated by the whole study.
Adam,
I'm interested to hear all your thoughts.
Yeah, Adam, I was going to say, Steve, do you know what you are? Have you ever done that test?
No, I'm sure there's several fancy words for what I am.
Yeah.
It's a really fascinating thing, though. I
I
mean,
was going to say, because it taught me a lot when I came across, I'll call him a narcissist and every other probably disorder. It made me learn a lot about myself, but I came across that test and I am a ENFP. I'm the campaigner. And when I read it, that's exactly who I am. I'm that person that campaigns for what's right. Again, intuitive. When I read the whole thing, I'm like, yep, there's me. I'm that campaigner, like,
right.
It
It works really well to learn how to communicate
Go
with
ahead.
people as well. I'm sure Sonny can email it to you. You can do it online now for free.
Oh, it's
I'm
very,
a strong analytical. I overanalyze, and I'm very visual. I don't know
yeah,
what that means in the test, but you give me
You
a
would if
picture.
you took it.
yeah,
You give me a picture, and what I can do to a picture. You give me a family album and of a family reunion, and I'll totally destroy your thoughts of some of your family members by what's
yeah,
happening in the background.
right,
I'm a party.
yeah, yeah. I just like I said, wait. So do you you said that your wife is very intuitive, correct?
Yes, yes.
Can I ask you, just for the sake of it, she wouldn't happen to be a Cancer or a water sign, would she?
I don't know. I know when she was
When's her,
born. She was
when's her
born
birthday?
March
July?
20, March 22nd.
March
Oh,
22nd.
isn't
She's
that's a Libra? Is she a Libra?
I don't know.
I think that might end. It either starts the new one or ends.
no, it's the yeah, I can't think. It's not Pisces. It's
You know,
the one after Pisces, I
give me a
think.
second.
I'm Gemini.
Are you Gemini?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
Gemini.
okay.
Right.
She's an
That's the only
Aries.
thing I know. Okay.
Right.
She's an Aries. Perfect. I understand that then.
And
And
her
I just find that
intuition.
interesting. I don't take any weight to it all, but I find it interesting to know that people's astrology things.
Yeah, I talked to her earlier today about she's in the corporate world and business, and she's one of the top producers. She's for her company, and she goes in and she's talked at national conference for her company, and due to her work ethics and what she can do, and of weeding out the bad apples. And I asked her how you do that, and especially because of what the topic was tonight. We've discussed it in the past, but she explained to me you weed out the bull, and then when you only have good things to work with, good things happen, and you'll outproduce the averages, and that puts you at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's analytical, plus she trusts her intuition.
Right. And I understand that, because if she's an Aries, which she is, Aries is kind of very close to the Cancer sign in this, like, about the same kind of the same kind of personality traits and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's why it doesn't shock me when I see that she was an Aries once we all got it figured out there. You know what? I'm not going to lie. I don't really know other people's signs too much. It's not like I'm in the astrology world.
Right.
I've mostly read my own, and I know my husband's a Cancer. I know that Adam's a Cancer. So I mostly know that sign. So I'm not very fluent in the astrology, but I know when I read my own personal sign, and the personality test, it really shows mostly who I am. Obviously, from wealths of information of other cancers or other, I am a Cancer, Crystal.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer I prefer the logic science based personality test like that. Because I think that astrology is fun, but it also plays into that. A lot of people think like intuition is kind of like the magical thinking, and I think that
Mhm.
there's a lot more science behind it, and I think we're learning a lot more about intuition, as science progresses and psychology progresses. But
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are like, oh, intuitive means you think you can see the future, and
I know, and
that's
it's
not what it means at all.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
there's times in my career if I'd had good intuition, I wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have had to come home as injured as I did. But you're not paid in law enforcement sometimes for your intuition abilities. You're paid to do a job, and regardless of what you feel maybe behind that door, you still have to go through that door.
Right.
And so you have to overcome a certain amount of fear and do what's necessary regardless. But I mean, you know, you're trained to do that, so it's not a big deal.
Right. Now, were you part of the GBI?
No. I worked with GBI.
Okay.
Did a lot of work with GBI. Did a lot of work with GBI Crime Lab.
Okay.
You know, they're like all agencies with the state funding. They're well funded and well educated.
Right. So was most of your career spent in crime scene analysis, or like?
No, I was, like I said, I worked everything from road patrol, different shifts. Whenever my boss got mad at me, he put me on the night shift from midnight till 8. And I was actually the first officer ever work a split shift. He got so mad at me one time. He says, "I want you to." He told my major. He said, "Put him on a shift that when I come in, I don't see him, and when I get off, I don't see him." And so I worked one of the first split shifts for my department. But I made myself so valuable that they couldn't get rid of me for the fact that I took so much training. They had so much invested in me that because like I said, I did my job, I worked hard, but I had a certain knack of irritating people. And so I got my share of complaints and caused my share of troubles. But I was valuable enough that they couldn't get rid of it. Plus my sheriff at the time, he was a lifelong friend of my father's. They worked together.
That helps.
So that helped a lot.
Now, were you in a small area, or I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Were you in a small area in Georgia, or like more of a metropolitan area?
Just outside of Metro.
Okay, all right. Because I live in North
County
Carolina, so I'm very familiar with Georgia, South Carolina, all the areas, and I know a lot about rural Georgia actually. But
yeah, I mean I think land mass wise, we were one of the top 10 counties. And, some of the shifts we worked back in the 80s, we're covering 500 square miles, and they'd be a supervisor and 2 deputies,
right.
Myself and 100. And, so your backup is you're dependent upon if they can get in touch with a local agency that has a PD that's working at night. And so there's some interesting times that can go on out there that, but it's, I was paid well for it. And I was a risk taker. They had bets on how long I would live when I first started.
Steve, if you don't mind, Support Steffa has a good question. And have you ever used a psychic, like when you were in your law enforcement? Did you guys use psychics to assist you in solving crimes?
Did not, but we had families that would, and I never stood in the way of them doing that. That if they wanted me to give information or certain things to whoever, most certainly. Now, we never turned over any evidence or anything, but we would, if the family felt that was something, because at the end of the day, you try to do everything, and who am I to say that someone might not hit a clue? I don't know. It's not that I have any great faith, but I'm not going to be the one that stands in between them and making the family feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just to let you know, your camera all of a sudden went almost a little bit laggy, just so you know.
I'm sorry.
No, you know what? What's funny is that you didn't cut out, only for a split second, but yeah, all of a sudden your camera went. It keeps. I'm not sure if yours is one of those focus ones.
Sometimes if you just hit the refresh button on the page, it'll fix the lag. Like, don't exit out, but just hit the refresh button.
Yeah, just hit the refresh.
We'll see what happens here.
He'll come back in.
Yeah. Yeah, great question, Steffa.
Mm-hmm. He's probably like, "Oh, I'm out. I'm not going back in there now."
Hold on, there he is. There, let's see.
When I hit refresh, it took me out.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I apologize.
Adam lied to you.
My intuition did not get on that one.
Yeah. It's all good. You know what? We can hear you just fine. Yeah. So sorry, go on with what you were saying there.
Oh, I don't know. I got lost on the refresh button. I'm easily misdirected
Okay.
here.
Well, I'm kind of curious. Did you bring your gloss with you, Steve?
No,
No. No.
I don't. I've seen that, and I know there's a base for this. There's a reason for this, and I am curious. What is the foundation of this ritual that y'all have?
Sadly, I think it's my fault because I think I just was sitting here one night and I didn't have chapstick and I had like this clear lip gloss thing and I was just sitting here like.
And then we all seem to have gloss
And
right
then you
beside
happen to have
us.
one, and then Sonny was like, "I have
And I was
one
like,
too."
I got gloss. And
Yeah.
so then it just became a little fun thing for us, actually. It's so when somebody, Dave Dean became a member today. Thank you very much. So it's kind of like when someone does a donation and stuff like that as well, or else we'll just gloss just for the fun of it because it's like, because as you're talking throughout the night,
Right.
lips.
And sometimes it can break up a conversation. Sometimes if we need to move into a different direction. Sometimes you just got to be like, "Oh, hey, let's."
I mean, we could make it seem like it's some sort of secret weapon or something
Right.
here. Like, I'm going to gloss
It
you.
can kind of
Talk
reset
back to
things
me.
sometimes.
I'm going to gloss
Yeah.
you. Oh, yeah.
I've watched you enough to know that there was a ritual. I just didn't know what the foundation of it was, and I found it extremely interesting. I didn't know if it was
Yeah,
what
it's
was the
code.
It's
Definitely.
just
Yes,
silly.
yeah.
It's,
I didn't know
yeah,
if y'all had a secret gang that this was that only certain gang members that went through certain initiations.
No, it's kind of just became our little fun thing of come gloss with us.
Right.
And we won't gloss anything over, as Deb says.
Right. And
So-
Carmex counts. If you've got any Carmex, any chapstick, that works.
Yeah.
It's acceptable.
Just looking around. Yeah. Maybe next time.
I think it was Sleuth Intuition was one night was like, does Carmex count? Can I use that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Sleuth didn't he? Now, can I ask you personally, when it comes to the Delphi case, which obviously it's a huge story in the true crime community, can we just ask you your take on basically just from everything that you know about this case? And do you know quite a bit about the Delphi, Steve?
I became aware of it just probably maybe 3 months ago now.
Okay.
But I don't know all the base information of all the POIs that are out there. I do know I've gathered a lot of information over the last few months, and I've been concentrating on my channel mostly on Delphi.
Yeah.
For the fact that it is such a unique case, whereas you have all this information of that Libby and Abby were able to that their actions have created a situation that is absolutely abnormal that you don't have audio and video of a psychopath. We do in this incident.
Thank you, Callie, for the donation.
Oh, thank you, Callie.
That was our gloss thing. There we go. But I already glossed.
And we always gloss for money.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, Steve, so chopstick, let's go. You want people to come subscribe to your channel? You guys can just put that back out there again. I really want to thank Steve so much for joining us tonight. Very intrigued with everything that he's saying, and I know you guys are too, and Adam and Deb. I know Deb's
Absolutely.
like busy this week with her family, and if she sneaks in and sneaks a peek and stuff like that. But I'm gonna put Steve's website down again in the chat.
To
And again-
continue on your thought there, Steve, so like you're saying that kind of we were given all of these things and then
Oh yes, and what happened when all these agencies came together? It's unprecedented. I can tell you right now. You can ask 1,000 agencies how often FBI have reported in the numbers that they did on this case. Is extremely unique, very rare. But all the resources that were brought forth during them opening hours And that, just like the prosecuting attorney I've said, no one ever thought that would go past 2 or 3 days without being solved.
Right.
And if I was on the scene, and once I saw what they knew, I would have been right with them.
Right.
Don't fault them for that. I mean, everybody in hindsight goes and there's certain things to be evaluated there, but I give credit for a lot of things that when FBI says that some days they put 100 men on the streets of Delphi
Wow.
in those days immediately following, they were given, when you start having the director of the FBI being briefed twice on a case, that is, I mean, for what, that's unreal. And then all the resources at the hands of the government and other agencies that it's sad to say that 5 years later, we're in this position.
Right. Now, and I know this is probably just, it's just speculative, but do you think in retrospect, like, which again, I know Monday morning quarterbacking, but do you think that in a way that so many agencies being there immediately could have created a little bit of, why things kind of might have not got solved so quickly at first because too many pots in the fire?
Well, there are certain things that you can have too many chiefs and not enough Indians, and everybody wants. Like I said last night, if it goes unsolved, we're going to blame the local agencies.
Yeah.
If it gets solved, it was a team effort, and but when it comes to crimes, especially crimes against children or women or people that in general we think we have to protect, and that we'll go that nobody wants that bad apple that is going to interfere with an investigation. That's where leadership comes in. That if you're working a crime scene and some agency steps in and says, we're working for this or we're doing that, there's nothing wrong with agencies fighting over certain things. It builds competitiveness. Everybody wants to be the one that solves this case. Everybody, there's so many parallel investigations going on at once. When you have a homicide that's as high profile as this, and you start getting as many tips as they get, each parallel investigation, as these tips come in, you have these little mini teams formed, and they're given a person of interest, or they're given a witness that they track down. They gather that information, they get all that data, and as I understand that the FBI was able to use some of their resources and some of their programs to organize this information. And of course, we got our spokesperson, Doug Carter, who was absolutely spectacular. And I thought the best of him until the 2 sketches came out. And I thought, man, what in the world is happening here? And so since then, I've been in complete disarray, and my thoughts are what is happening with the case once that happened.
That was very confusing. So
it still is.
It is confusing, and I have quite, I mean, I think a lot of Doug Carter, and when I watched that press conference, I've never seen someone that looked like they didn't want to be where they were and didn't want to be saying the things they were saying any more than Doug Carter looked that day. Yeah. He looked like he wanted no part of what he was having to do that day. So I wonder how long that had been building to the point where he had to go make that call and do it.
Well, I understand whatever their strategy was to begin with, because you're working with some of the greatest agencies in the world. The FBI have so many resources available to them, and they have such a training facility, and you got the behavioral science units where you have these people that can just absolutely almost tell you what someone has for breakfast with their personalities. And they have all this insight, and that all, it is all for naught now 5 years later. I don't fault them for picking a strategy and sticking to their guns first year or second year. Have no problem with that. but now we're 5 years in plus. We're going to have to do something. We're going to have to, whatever it takes to get someone local. I saw it, I think it was on Court TV where they were talking about what an opportunity for someone local in the web sleuth community to take that if law enforcement is going to lose control of this case, someone has to step up. So either law enforcement reestablishes herself as a controlling element and release some vital information that can put this psychopath where he needs to be, or someone's going to have to step up and apply pressures to the local law enforcement agencies. We got a sheriff's election out there, I believe it's coming up right now.
November,
What an opportunity to say, I'll help you get in office, but you're going to have to give us some information on this case so that we can get this danger to our children off the street. Because whoever this person is, he is most certainly, if he is not incarcerated at this moment, he is a danger.
Right.
That's what frustrates me. Do you think that Doug Carter's last interview that he did really? Did you feel that? That intuition part, that part where it was like, yeah, they know. Do you feel like it was a different interview that time?
Well, I did all the way up to the point when they asked him how that he felt that it's going to be solved before he retired. And then he said, well, that's 3 years and 11 months. And so that concerned me. Oh, man, we got another 4 years of this possibility that. But there is certain things. Do I believe they have a person of interest? Yes, you're going to have persons of interest. I have one. You have one. Everybody has one. Some of them are established on sound reasoning. Some of them are just on emotional feelings. And some of them, the analytical stuff. And you're going to have that within the department. As you have these investigative teams that are out there, most certainly they're still focusing on the Anthony Shots connection. That's something that knocked everybody flat that 5 years ago, nope, social media, nope. And then this year, oh, okay, yeah, social media.
Right.
Do you think they dropped the ball on that? On the Anthony Shots, like earlier on? Back in 2017, and then all of a sudden in 2020, all of a sudden this interview comes out and he's arrested then? That was 3 years. Do you think that they dropped the ball on him, that they didn't release?
Our government, and this is one of my biggest problems I have with how our government and these task forces work, that these task forces, when they get together and work, and you look at the DEA, they're probably the biggest offender of this is all. Federals, on local laws and state laws, federal have no jurisdiction. But they found a way to circumvent and to flank the state laws by coming in with federal forces and funds and incorporating these DEA drug task force. They're everywhere. Right. But also you could have that there may be federal agencies like ATF coming in and they'll go into a department and create a task force for the gun issues. So there's always federal agencies that's working with local agencies that'll come in and deputize the federal powers, these local agencies. And it kind of circumvents the Constitution. And I'm not really happy with that. No. Because I've seen it, especially in the drug world with the DEA agencies, that they'll run these pill mills for extended period of times. They'll run a pill mill for 2 or 3 years. And the lives lost and are affected by the people that are destroyed, killed, because people that come to even the pill mills, they're not your most sound citizens. You got armed robbers, you got drug dealers. They'll travel state lines, come in here, and they'll rob places, they'll burglarize places, they'll kill people. And so you're bringing in and they'll do it for 2 or 3 years. And just look at that, the victims that occur from running these extended investigations. That's the cost of doing business. And right. I don't agree with that at all.
So how do you feel like that, say you have like the Libby Abbey case and say the police take an investigative lead, like, when they finally went to the Anthony Shots thing, and then they started realizing the doors get opened, and in their words, the largest CP ring in Indiana state history.
Well,
So, is it like a fine line then where how far do you take that?
I think that they realized the implications when they did the victimology on Abby and Libby. Which victimology is when you learn everything you can about a victim of what their daily lives is and how they may have placed themselves in harm's way.
Right.
Certain social medias, where did they go and where did they shop? What were their habits? What were their hobbies? Where did they place themselves in danger?
Right.
And so that's all the victimology is about, trying to understand how they may have crossed paths with the offender that ultimately killed them. But I think that knowing and seeing over the years how these task force worked, I don't think they ever took their eyes off of the Anthony Shots case. They just didn't make it public. And
Right.
they ran this parallel investigation from the get-go.
I agree.
And so do you think that because they were gleaning so many arrests and leads from that that it's kept them from going more into the Libby Abbey side of it?
No, the Libby Abbey side of it was also being investigated parallel with it. I mean, they didn't just shut down. But we have to look at that. Okay, they let Keegan Klein sit out there and run this Anthony Shots and so that they could trap as many. The positive effect in the long term is that there are going to be so many children that have been rescued and protected from it. There's also that there's so many children that were affected during this time period.
Right.
And it's just like, what is that fine line of who do you save and when do you save them?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was asking. Yeah.
And I have a lot of problems with that sometimes, that, if I can stop something on day one, I'm going to argue for it because there are going to be other people arguing the other way. I'm going to argue that let's step in on day one because I don't want this unknown child to be picked up by a predator tomorrow. Close the system down, everybody we can, so that they don't have access to additional victims. Because we don't know what the depth of the Anthony Shots investigation led to. How deep is that ring? How many different other Anthony Shots that go by different names that we don't know?
Right.
I mean, it is so complex that it's mind-boggling where these things and these parallel investigations go and how they go. And
I agree. That's why that's kind of why I was asking, because I'm like at what line is the balance there? So because I know it's hard.
It is. It's extremely hard because you say, okay, we're going to sleep on this one more night. But how many children are destroyed in that one more night?
Yeah. I mean, it's even just, you take it down to the simple thing of someone you have a boyfriend that's threatening you. Oh, but if he's not done anything yet, we can't do anything about it. Kind of that kind of mentality. So it's like you have to wait for there to be a crime before you can protect someone sometimes. But that's just on a simplistic.
Been there thousands of times.
Yeah.
And then that person choose to stay there and place herself in harm's way. And that for whatever reason, I don't know if it's support or whatever. Like I said, I never could enter all the victims' minds of why you would, say all you had to do is, I went to a house call one time. This was right when 911 was becoming of age in our area. And we had a 911 hang up. And I walked in, and this is probably one of my greatest intuition moments. I walked into a house, and there was a woman standing there, or knocked on the door. She answered the door. And I asked, can I come in? And went in. And there's two men sitting at the table drinking a beer. And she had her beer over at the table. And I said, we had a 911 hang up here. And she said, no. And I looked at the men, and they said, no, there's nothing going on here. And I turned around to leave, and I turned back, and I pointed to the unorganized looking individual that was sitting at the table, the male. And I said, ma'am, does he belong here? And she says, no. He walked in the door 20 minutes ago, opened the refrigerator, got a beer, forced my husband to come to the kitchen, sat down and drank a beer. and she almost let me leave without letting that information out. I don't know what would have happened, but I know we tore up the house because he didn't want to go. He wanted to stay. Whatever his relationship, imagine the relationship was with those people, I don't know. But but she almost let me leave without telling me.
Right. And never to victim blame, because, you know, everyone's got a reason for why they have to do what they have to do in that moment, you know?
Yeah, she was just scared. She didn't know if
Right.
I was going to be able to protect them. But, you know, but until I asked that directed question and pointed at, does he belong here? And like I said, that was probably the only intuition moment in my life that I really remember that. And I don't know what.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I've noticed that in the last couple of years, I've started to see, even like, not even from the police, but just like social media, I think it's become kind of a helpful thing with, like, I don't know if you're aware of what an angel shot is. Have you heard of that?
No.
So it's like, you know, it's this, it's apparently like kind of a secret code that, you know, if you're a woman or man and you're at a bar and you're like there against your will, someone's doing something to you,
Okay.
whatever, and you order an angel shot as a drink, it gives the bartender a cue to take care of the situation without, you know, creating more danger, calling the police or what, you know, just to get the person out of whatever situation they're in.
Absolutely.
So I think that kind of stuff's amazing.
One moment.
Yeah,
We
one
need to
moment.
stop and gloss.
Oh, well, thank you, Cordy.
Cordy, thank you. I think my lips are myself are pretty glossed up. See, Steve, you don't know what you're missing here.
I'm holding y'all back.
Right? You get the shiny lips and people are just...
Yeah.
I'll take a drink.
Yeah, you take. I know that will quench your lips. There you go.
Yeah,
Thank you, Cordy. And thanks, Deb, for coming in and glossing. And again, want to thank Steve. I'm going to put up his link again. And you guys, I just want to stop and say thank you. Obviously, when people make a donation, our thing is that we gloss and say thank you. So thank you very much. Kate, go ahead. Go back on to. Sorry for the distraction, but it's a good distraction to say thanks.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I'm new to this world, and I probably at some point have about 1,000 questions of how we can improve our community to work together with each other, because there's such, there's some bad apples out there that for whatever reason, I just don't understand. I mean, I've seen it my whole life that some people like drama, some people constantly, they feed off of it. And some people just like to troll.
Yeah. I just, you know, when I think about the people that are making others aware of cases and stuff like that, so when I first joined this community, it wasn't by intent, but I came very soon to realize that what I thought and what I learned were two different things. So in my journey of being with true crime, I've come across the people that I know are very caring individuals, and I've come across the other side. But I don't understand, Steve, when doing what we're doing, bringing awareness, like posting on my Twitters and different things. There's nothing bad about that, about helping others or bringing awareness. So I don't know why people want to create stuff like that, like the drama that they do. Like I said, worry about your own channels. But I do stay focused on the fact that I know what the purpose is. The purpose is that anyone that's in the true crime really is here for a specific reason, I would like to think. And that is because you care, right? And that's why.
And my channel is I'm trying to, and I hope that I've done well trying to bring in to this community of how law enforcement works and have an understanding of, of course, there's no one that judges. Everyone judges law enforcement very harshly when we mess up. And rightly.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But they also, sometimes we've done everything in our powers and we just can't tell you that we've done everything and we're still here. And there's not anything we can do about it. But
you might not be the one that messed up. You might have had someone above you that told you that's a dead lead.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. Absolutely. And I've argued, are you serious? This isn't who we're going to go get, you know? But and I it is such a this new area of what web sleuths could do. And there's one area I absolutely 100% agree with John Kelly on, is that what Libby and Abby did, I would love to have been a fly on the wall when BG looked at the TV and there was his picture.
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness.
Absolutely.
And I love to see it when he wakes up, because there is a certain impact that they had an impact on his. I don't know how long, but they changed, and he learned from it now. This psychopath, he learned from this experience that he underestimated these two young ladies, these innocent children.
Yeah.
And Libby followed her intuition. She had that gut instinct, and she pulled out her phone and recorded him.
Yeah. And now, if you watch all my videos, you'll see that I lead to some part of it that leads into some of the speculations. There's no problem with people speculating about a lot of things in this case, as long as you tell everybody that it's speculation.
Right.
Don't proclaim it's fact, because that hurts the case. But when you honestly step forward and say, hey, this is speculation on my part, there's no problem with that. It's just that when you state something, or someone states something as a fact, some people feed off of it, because in the web sleuth community, some people, they'll give you that your opinion is it. They believe that, so-and-so has a great channel and what they say is golden. And that's one reason I don't announce any PUR.
That's true.
Sorry, Sonny.
No, I was going to say that's very true. I mean, you guys have probably known that I've said, like, this is fact. It's my fact. It doesn't have to be your fact. But I've seen that too, where I realize, that people do literally believe that what that channel is saying is absolutely true.
Yeah. Right.
For me, it's like, I would like for people to see the information that I've put out and then to judge for themselves. Meaning, that's the whole point. That's the only reason really why I put out the information that I have, is because I know how many people truly care about the Delphi case. And it was like, here, let me bring you on the journey of these pictures that I'm showing you. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that's your decision to either go, she's full of crap, or she has something. Meaning, I'm only in charge of my own thoughts and my own actions. That's it. Everybody else is in charge of their own. But it's kind of like what I've seen is some people thinking like this is the gospel truth.
Mm-hmm. As a law enforcement officer, there's such great weight put on and such a burden put on your back and your shoulders, that when you walk into a crime scene and you're processing it, that every action you do is either going to make or break the case. If you destroy the key piece of evidence, it's destroyed, and the case may never be solved. And but when you do the right thing and you follow the right lead and you have the right evidence and you're working to identify that suspect or that person of interest, that you may get every clue in the world at that crime scene to identify this person, but it's going to take people from the community. And most people nowadays, they don't trust the news on TV. They trust the internet. They trust us. This world I've thrown myself into for the last 4 weeks. And y'all have been out here a lot longer, and y'all have a great panel. And I trust y'all. That's how come I watch you. That's how come I'm here tonight.
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was, because I've been into true crime for a long time, but I'm relatively new to YouTube as well. I think it was January I started coming on to Sonny's show, and I have a channel of my own, but I don't post on it. But something I've noticed in the YouTube true crime community is, I think there's a lot of things happen, but I think someone's, sometimes will, put out a theory, or they'll put out suggestion, and even if they say it's speculation, a game of telephone happens sometimes, and it goes from one person, and the next thing you know, it's, well, this is the case because it's been repeated so many times from different people. And I also think that there are some people that they have to sit around and think of content, and they're doing it just for the sake of thinking of content. And what, and I'm bad because, I'm like, I have to prove everything to myself before I accept it. So
Exactly.
like that's why I don't have a POI. It doesn't mean that I think Sunny's wrong. It doesn't mean that I disagree with her. It just means
You
that
got to prove it to yourself. Exactly.
it just means that it's not, that's not my focus. And,
Right.
I'm never going to put out something, that I don't think, unless I'm just like, this is just speculation. But, yeah, I can't just believe anything, someone says.
And me neither. And you know what? I'm the same way. Is that too? I need to prove it to myself. I need to check my work and my work and my work again, because for me personally, internally, it's an embarrassment to myself. Right. Just kind of like, remember when I put out the Keegan Klein video with what I thought was Keegan Klein and Garrett Kurtz?
Right.
I had to retract that. I was wrong. What I thought was him wasn't him, but you know what? I really didn't do my homework as best as I normally do. And so it's kind of like, because I have no problem, but it's an embarrassment to myself when I do put out misinformation, if I know that it's like without doing my homework first, because I take pride in my work ethic, who I am, what I do, like what I put out there, because it reflects me. Right. And like I said, so I'm very hard on myself. And that's kind of like I said, that's just built into my personality. If I sucked at something in school or joined a sport, and stuff like that, and maybe I only made it on the volleyball team to the spare. Okay, what can I do to work harder? But like I said, people don't know us personally in our real lives and stuff like that. But like you said, you got to prove it to yourself. And then the information that's put out there, right? Take the information that's out there, prove it to yourself. I've even said here, use your phone, take multiple photo bursts too. If you want to see the BG's face and try to figure out your own self with your POI, then there you go. Here's an opportunity of how you can do that. Absolutely. If you want to. Now, Steve, somebody did ask earlier, and I know that you had said this to me already in an email. Steve, he's not going to talk about his POI. That's something that's his personal choice. But someone did ask you what perhaps, and I'm not sure if you want to answer this or not, what perhaps led you to why you think your POI became your POI. Was there... Yeah.
If I revealed the fact of why he became my POI,
I was going to say, it might say, right?
Why I did. I mean, it'd be just like what this question on the screen is about, the info that leaked into by search warrants interrogations. Yes, I have a POI. But the reason I don't reveal my POI is that being in the profession as I am, I don't want people out there to say that, oh, Steve, if they have the key information, because I can be wrong. I've been wrong many times in my life. And if the one person in this audience, or will see this in the coming days, sees this and they have some confidence in my ability that I know better than them, that they might turn their back on that intuition that Uncle Fester is the one that did this, that they don't call it in. And that's the main reason. I don't have a problem mentioning who my POI is, but I'm just not going to do it for that reason.
Right.
Correct.
And sadly, the other thing that would happen is just as many people would tell you you were wrong,
right?
And they would try to discredit your credentials as what you've done in your life, and then they would spend the rest.
I've had hundreds of attorneys do that.
And and so I mean that's something else on YouTube is that it becomes something where it's like attack people's POIs, and then it's nothing but why they're a horrible idiot because they had this theory,
So I'm sorry, is there fires going on around Delphi right now?
I think they're talking about the was it, I may butcher the name, fluorifiers or
The
something.
fluorifiers, is that what you're speaking
Yeah,
about?
whatever how you pronounce it. I haven't looked at any of that right now.
Yeah.
I've been trying to. I have a strategy of how I'm approaching this Delphi case, and I'm implementing my strategy as I go along. And I've got 2 or 3 more shows that is totally going to be focused on Delphi, and then I've got to figure out how I can assist the web sleuth community in keeping this, for the fact that I do believe that what our community is doing as far as keeping Bridge Guy's face in focus is having an effect upon his way of operation. Has he moved? Has he had to slow down? What is he doing to make sure that people, what has he had to change in his life so that he is not implicated or arrested in the next hour, which I hope he is. I hope somebody flashes on that Carter just
every day.
Yeah. Here we go.
Because I was going to say, going back to what you said earlier, I revel on that moment that they put that video out to the public, and that the BG going, oh shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously it's been years later now, but
now the personality that he would have been, their fear factor and how they evaluate it is it's a survival instinct that, psychopaths, they don't look at fear the way we do. You look at the way Ted Bundy going to a busy beach and trying to, and abducting 2 women on the same day on the beach. I mean, their risk factors is totally different than what our risk factors are. Yep. Approaching 2 young innocent children on a bright, beautiful sunlit day, that and doing what he did, the risk factor of that is extreme.
Yeah.
And the mannerism in which he did it and the control of his mannerisms and his voice is an absolute telltale sign of the personality that we're looking at.
I agree. Do you think that, because we are kind of at the birth of like the internet social web sleuth thing. It is really something that has not, been it's never been around before. And so I think law enforcement, from my experiences, I think you have law enforcement that are going to embrace it, and then you're going to have law enforcement that are going to push back against it. But I think the more people start to understand about the benefits it can have, and I know there are downsides of it too, but don't you think it'll become much more of a useful and accepted, thing with law enforcement?
Absolutely. Of course, law enforcement is going to get burned a few times,
right?
But that's going to be due to what their strategy is of how they use you and how they trust you, and because whatever information, it does run the risk that you can, if you're not prepared, that when you put the message out there that we need help on tips on finding, such as Bridge Guy, they went from, 15 years ago, if they wanted tips on Bridge Guy, it may have taken them a month to get that message out there. Yeah. And then they had another month as they trickled in 100 a day of how to handle. But, when you say it now, how many emails can a organization get in a day?
Right.
You can shut a system down. But law enforcement is going to learn how to, there's going to be training of how to use social media to best benefit your investigative strategies.
Yeah.
I don't know at what level there are now, but I most certainly believe that they're there. And I'd be interested in, I'm going to ask that question actually, of what training is, and because that is an interesting point and something that should be done, for the fact that, used to, when you wanted a posse, you went out to your comrades in the community and said, hey, we need some help tracking somebody down. Who wants to step forward? Now you can go online and in 30 seconds, you can broadcast a message to how many people.
Right. Like I said, and I get their downsides to it, but I mean, I do think it's fascinating because, you know, you have a case like this where I think, you know, well, not this case, but what was it? The Golden State Killer. You know, it was a woman that was into genealogy. So she started her personally, you know, and it, you know, led to that. I don't know if you're familiar with the Tara Grinstead case in Georgia. The beauty queen. I mean, that was a podcast that, you know, he literally Googled cold cases in Georgia, wanted to do a story on one, went to Osceola, Georgia, and is credited for solving the murder after 17 years, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think there are huge benefits to it. But I just find it interesting because we have to remember we can only go off the information that we're given, you know. So with law enforcement, I mean, they could be holding 3 things back in the entire case, but one of those 3 things could be the thing that is going to solve the case.
Yes, that's going to make one person, family member say, "Oh, I remember that."
Right.
Yeah, but like I said, there's going to be that if it's used correctly, because you're going to have rumor mills. It doesn't matter. You have rumor mills. I remember back before the internet, and you know, when we looked at our beepers that we were carrying on our sides and think, my God, look at the technology we have. And it was just a beeper. But even then you still had rumor mills within the communities that would just drive an investigation crazy. That when you went to talk to somebody to do an interview, you walk up, knock on the door and say, I'm here about so-and-so. And someone says, oh, I thought y'all arrested so-and-so 2 weeks ago. No, you know, what information and they had just locked it out of their mind that the case was solved to them.
Right. And everything was so much more geography based, you know, before the internet, you know, because we didn't really know about crimes unless they were really huge outside of where we lived.
Absolutely.
You know? I grew up in the Midwest. I rarely heard about cases in New Jersey, you know?
Yeah. Oh no.
I mean, and look at what Gabby Petito, that was, I mean.
Oh, absolutely. For me, I say thank goodness for that one, for the fact of it was because of the internet and that these people that were in that area were like, hey, we were over there. Let me go back and look at our tape. And sure enough, they could now give the LE fast track to where that vehicle was. And then they found Gabby Petito not too far from it. Like, just like that. But thanks to the internet, thanks to, again, that couple that obviously,
the technologies that they had now that they could run a camera, you know, on their vacation just to pick up a happenstance encounter of maybe a deer crosses the road, but rather than catching a deer or a beautiful moment on the road or something spectacular, they found a murder crime scene.
I mean, thanks to Libby, again, you know, there's that video there. And like I said, how many times do you have a video, a voice, and that kind of, you know, meaning I feel like that video at the end of the day is like the lifesaver in this case, to be honest with you. I just feel, I don't know if this case would be as strong in a sense if it wasn't for that video. I just feel like it was, I don't know, having that video has definitely kept the true crime people wondering, looking, you know, definitely everyone, I watched that video more times than I can shake a stick at, you know, slow motion, fast motion, this motion, pictures.
But also look at what it has given our parents of children the ability to do, to say, look, this is what can happen. And the ability
absolutely.
I mean, you know, without that, it would have just been a case that would have been 2 missing innocent little children killed that wouldn't have had the focus it has now. And so there's parents and there's foundations, and there's going to be the opportunity for parents to be able to talk to their children about, look at this case. And this is how come, from the catfishing dangers to, I mean, there's just so much that Libby and and Abby's life and the sacrifice that can be learned from them, and that will serve our community.
Yeah.
And will save so many children in the future.
Right. Because kids are always going to be smarter than adults when it comes to technology, especially.
Technology,
I
for
mean,
sure.
think of how many parents even just like, I mean, that whole, when the whole Yubu yellow app thing came out, like, you know, a month or two ago. I mean, I don't think anyone, you know, most parents didn't even know what that app was. So that's an important tool to then now be like, check your kid's social media, because you might think it's something innocent, and you know, you have no idea who's on there.
Oh, yeah. This,
You know,
this technology stuff is absolutely amazing to me. Like I said, we came up really poor. We didn't have a fully functioning TV, you know, until,
yeah,
I mean, you know, everything rolled. You had to
yeah,
do the vertical and horizontal controls back in
yeah.
and
You know, Cordy has this message that I put up here, and this has always been one of the biggest driving forces for me for fighting for justice for this case. Obviously, as a mother, you know, my heart just aches. But Cordy says she did all she could to help us solve this. I hope we can do our part, and please can do theirs and solve this to a T. That's exactly my always been my thoughts, is that Libby left us this, you
yes,
know, that I feel like it's one of those things. Got to fight for just Libby left us this gift. And now it's kind of like, yeah, we can submit the tips. We can do all this part, try to give the leads, etc. And now it's just up to the, like I said, Ellie and that. Now we need for justice to be, you know, come hopefully soon and do their part. Because obviously we can't. I'd love to arrest, you know.
Right. And
my biggest fear is that that law enforcement will, that if they have a POI currently and someone that they're talking to directly when they make these news releases and just trying to keep him to ground, if they have that, then of course they don't need to change their strategies, because the surveillance is there. They're in. He may not know that he's under control. I hope he watches this and understands that he is under control, and make that move, and bad things will happen to you. But if they don't have that person of interest and they're not focused on one, let's not take the information to our grave and not solve this and get this person off the street before someone else is hurt. You've had 5 years that if your strategy is working, great. If it's not working, not so good. We've got to do something else to bring this case and to bring this person to justice.
Absolutely. What do you go ahead?
No, you bet. No, please.
No, I was going to simply say, what do you feel that they could release to us that wouldn't jeopardize the case, but yet should be out there?
I think the video, the 1 point, I've heard from 1.5 seconds to 1.8 to 2 seconds. It all depends on how long you play the 47 or 48 slides of frames.
48, yeah.
And at what rate do you play them on whatever for your time? I believe there's a lot of information on there. If play it up until, you know, if this man is armed and we get to see certain characteristics about him as he approaches, you know, or certain words are said or certain mannerisms are seen, we don't know. But by holding the information back, everybody's speculating. I honestly believe that there's more to that 40. I mean, you just don't release 1.8 seconds of a video when there's 43 seconds. There's a reason they held that back. Yeah. And 1 year ago, 2 years, no, not 1 year, the first year of the investigation or second year, I don't have a problem with them holding information close to their chest, that so that you can take the false confessions out. You've got all the false confessions that's ever going to come have already been there. People 5 years later aren't going to be coming in with the false confessions now. They did that in the first and second year.
Yeah.
Now release whatever you got. And this is just my, my 2 cents. Of course, they look at me and they think I'm an idiot. That's fine, but this is my 2 cents, my opinion. That go ahead and at least get that information out there so people can quit speculating of that first contact. Let's see how that individual, if there's video and audio of him, let's see what his mannerisms were, because I can tell you from my stakeout experience that when we'd be on stakeouts and we're watching people either starting that as they're hiding in plain sight and they're walking through a down a street, or they're walking up to a store and their intent is that, oh, I'm going to go and burglarize this house, or I'm going to rob this store, or I'm going to attack this woman on this walking trail, that their mannerisms in those last moments before contact is totally different than their mannerisms 10 minutes prior. They're like a cat that you see in your front yard, that when he gets close to that bird, that they go into a different mannerisms. They go into that stalking mode. They handle their stresses. They're getting ready for contact. They're getting ready for combat. And so there's certain things, that mannerisms that change. And in that 43 seconds, if we get to see those mannerisms of him at his point of attack and how he's going to attack, a former victim may recognize that moment. Someone who lives in their home may say, that's my husband who treats me that way. That's how he acts right before he hits me. That's how he acts right before he assaults me. And they may see that. That may be in that 43 seconds. And that's what I'm hoping for. And I believe that information, that, you can hide a lot of stuff, but don't take it to your grave and hurt the case that it won't ever get solved.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, what if to play devil's advocate really quickly, what if we have seen the most important part of the video? Like, what if, that is the last part of the approach we see, because she puts the phone in her pocket and the only other audio on it is perhaps the gun click and the girls saying things that might be fear, what good would that do if he's not audible on it anymore?
Nothing other, but why wouldn't you release it then?
right.
And they said because there was nothing else discernible on it, and out of respect for the families.
Well,
I think families would rather
And
have
they
justice.
yeah,
When they played part of that for the families. So
and that may be true, but like I said, I have the feelings that there's more to it. I believe that there's a certain reason they did certain things and they withheld certain information. Do I have any basis on it? No. I hope there is more out there, but
very reasonable though. Yeah, of course.
Everybody has. I just believe that started from the time it was started and ended at the time it ended, and let's just see what's there, unedited, clear. If it's worse, if this is the best that anyone that worked on it could do, and that you give us a video that is in far worse condition and it shows absolutely nothing but a blur, ghostly figure, let me see that ghostly figure.
Steve, why would they give us two sketches instead of their best visual that they could really put out of from the video of more of an up close of what this person looks like, not a sketch? We all see that the sketches have made 100 freaking POIs, and everyone thinks, oh, that person's it. That voice is it. That person. And I get it. There's so many people that look like these sketches, but why wouldn't they just give us that they got to have a better visual?
Well, they did. Now they did provide that. They gave us when you listen to Carter during his first things, he's describing that we won't, and rightly so, because what housewife wouldn't recognize that jacket? What housewife wouldn't recognize those jeans? And that hat, or what they could. I guarantee you that there's a man that had to go and replace a jacket and jeans just as soon as that picture came out. That if they weren't already stained and certain things, was he keeping those items that were stained as trophies of his conquest, of how he conquered these two innocent children? I mean, we're dealing with an animal here. That what is his trophies? Did he make a video? Did he take pictures? The search warrant concentrates on a lot of digital formats that could have done that. And but Carter, when he was going through look at his stance, look at how he takes that step, look at his clothing.
Yeah.
That I think that when Bridge Guy turned on the TV that morning and saw that, there were some dress. We're going to change some, because I asked my wife, I said, what type of personality, how organized, what type of, do you think that he's married? What kind of relationship he's in? Does he dress himself or does his wife dress him? My wife dresses me. I can't, if you let me go, I'm a mess, my color coordination. So.
Mm-hmm. So can I, like I said, I haven't watched any of your videos yet. Do you think that that the meth and drugs or money, what is your kind of take on the reason why this happened? Do you have any?
Yeah, and there's parallel. I can almost certainly tell you that there's two parallel investigations going on, at least two, probably more. Because, like I said, until you run that rabbit to ground, they're most certainly that the Anthony shots hasn't been run to ground yet. There's still there's something going on with it. Always will be until you put somebody in jail or you have a definite POI. Then you have, is there drugs? Is it something to do with that side? And then you have is it a serial killer? You're having probably, unless they have a POI, you're having maybe 3 or 4 parallel investigations going right now. And you're going to be following up that if a tip comes in, the drug tip comes in, that team gets it. If the Anthony Shots clue comes in, that team gets it. If there's a serial killer tip comes in, that team gets it. Not meaning that there is a serial killer or not, but most certainly the involvement of the FBI in the early days is indicative that they thought the worst, especially when they started putting things across the nation. You don't put billboards across the nation for somebody that's local.
Sorry, what was the last thing you just said there, Steve?
That you don't put billboards across the nation for a local individual.
Right. Yeah.
And that may have been their behavioral science unit at first saying, and they made that as a precautionary measure. Just because they did that doesn't mean. But then again, they understand that we may be wrong, and to be wrong, is it cheaper in the long run? What did it cost the case? That we told the whole world that this is what we need to do, and it's weighing that. Do we have the funding to do such a thing? And if they did, what did it harm the case? No. Would it possibly have solved the case? Yes. So, I mean, there's so much stuff that when you small departments most certainly wouldn't have been able to put billboards across the nation, whereas FBI can.
Right. Which, I mean, I think that's one thing Delphi and Carroll County, they were quick to bring the ISP in because they knew they didn't have the resources to handle it. And the ISP was quick to bring the FBI into it, because of the, almost instantaneously. Because, I mean, just what did Doug Carter say? Just the engineering aspect of the logistics of the crime scene and trying to run the electrical they would need for all of the equipment and things they were doing out there.
Oh yeah, but I can just tell you on a small department because when I went in and worked in crime scenes, my wife would bring us food because just to feed our investigative team on site, I'd call Mrs. Steve, as my community likes to call her now, and I'd say, bring us some chicken or whatever, because you only get one shot that first 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it turns into 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it is, and
Yeah.
and once you release that crime scene, there's sometimes things are found that you have to go back and get. Sometimes it's just stuff that you left behind of your own materials, that people go and they discover something at the crime scene. They think it's actually from the suspect, and it could be, but more often than not, most of the stuff we went back for is stuff that we had left or abandoned or littered.
Yeah. Just to quickly go back, just because, one of this poll that I did at the start was, do women have better intuition than men? Now, knowing that about 75% is female, well, just a little under that typically watch, in the true crime community. So 74% said yes, 10% said no, and 16% thought it was equal. So I just wanted to put out there what people's thoughts were on this one. Yeah. So, I mean, goes with what you're saying for what this poll and the people that answered it, it's kind of, I'm sure, how they figure out most, as, like I said, surveys and different things. Poll a ton of people, and then, I'm just amazed it wasn't 100%, to be honest.
Right. Just Pam in the chat. The FBI were there before the murders, but they weren't there because they knew the murders would happen or anything, like that. There is an FBI large office in Indianapolis, and there was also the Larry Nassar case happening at the exact same time in central Indiana. So the FBI was in the area. U.S.
Yes.
Marshals, I've always wondered about why the U.S. Marshals got involved so fast. And Steve, you might be able to answer this, but I always thought Homeland Security being involved so early was a really interesting agency to have there.
It is. But now I can tell you something about Homeland Security. Logistically, when Homeland Security came in and they started handling hurricanes, and all this other stuff, it's for the fact that when our government and these officials, that you can of course have training classes in some of the training centers with small groups of people, but you don't really learn from the School of Hard Knocks until you go out and do massive logistical things. And hurricanes is a thing, whereas Homeland Security could go out there and they could test all their theories and become a well-oiled machine, so that if there is a natural disaster, there is an act of war or act of terrorism, or you have a massive crime scene, that they are trained and they understand how to work those logistics. Right. And it just comes together. There's no better training than you can get than working in these actual events.
Right. Would they have the ability to handle some investigative things differently than other agencies? Cause my mind goes back to I can't remember what it's called now, that they used after 9/11. That it was, people criticized it and some people supported it, but it was kind of a way to get information from people. That
act that they started.
And that's just me just personally asking the question because I don't know.
There's certain resources, and they're governed about what agencies can work within the U.S. Like CIA, they can't. It's FBI, but law enforcement, when you have this common crime, they're going to come together. I mean, it's such a horrible crime against two innocent children. It's just like when the neighborhood, on the first day when they were looking for two missing children, that's all it was. Day one, two missing children.
Right.
The word went out. Every one that was available that felt some obligation to their community showed up.
Yeah.
Some people went home when it was called off, but a lot of people stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same that when the law enforcement came in, the same thing, that whatever mutual aid agreements that you had between departments that, hey guys, we're working a major murder case here, and I need all my investigators and my officers on scene answering those tips because we know this community. And so you'll have outside agencies come in and answer the calls that are unrelated, whereas you have the best people that have the most knowledge about that community able to focus on their community. And you'll have some officer that's 20 miles up the road that doesn't know anybody, but he can still answer that call and render, and it's just a readjustment of how you use the resources to their best impact.
Okay. So yeah, so like Homeland Security being there, it doesn't necessarily mean that they had any reason to think there was anything outside of the U.S. involved.
No,
it could have been.
It could be just logistically. Yeah.
Someone else in there, like I think equated the FBI, being there to the corruption, and that it was 2 hours from Delphi. That doesn't to me seem unlike, it doesn't seem suspicious at all that the FBI would come in from Indianapolis, which isn't that far, I don't believe, from Delphi. But I mean, does that seem weird to you? Or suspicious?
There's a couple of things I'm looking at on that. Was it just simply that they thought it was a serial killer and they used this opportunity to go ahead and step forward? Don't know. But it is extremely odd to me that the FBI threw every resource at this in such a short period. Kudos to them. I wish they did this on every investigation.
Me too. Yeah, definitely.
But it is an oddity, and I've never seen anything like it. And the officers on stage that day, during that first or that second interview, when everybody was there, that they said that they'd never seen this and would never see it again. And I agree with them.
All right.
Steve, sorry, I'm cutting your face off here. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's no problem.
My bad. No, I just wanted to show your channel.
Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate everyone that's subscribed, and that it will subscribe to your channel. I just want to give you a shout out again, because there's a lot of people throughout this live chat that have been honored to have you speaking here today, that have thanked you for your knowledgeable information, that can see what kind of integrity and just love for the true crime community that you're obviously starting to have. It's been like 4 weeks in it, or the passion, obviously, of your career. And now, like I said, joining us in the true crime community here. So again, I just want to say thank you. And there's so many people that have been thanking you along the way tonight. And again, so please hop over to True Crime Web if you can, hit the subscribe button. And thanks for everyone's love and support here tonight, because again, just appreciate you there very much, Steve. Thank you.
And it's an honor for me. I did this for many, many years. I didn't do it to get bad guys. I did it to protect families of good people.
Yeah.
Some people out there will never need law enforcement because they can handle it themselves. But there's a vast majority of people, and especially the children, that can't protect themselves, that they may need someone to step up to combat whatever evil is coming after them that's focused on them. And I've been very fortunate in my life that I was able to be part of a couple of hostage rescues in my career of being able to save children. And it's well worth it. And when you win those,
it's rewarding, isn't it?
It is. Oh, it is. Oh, goodness.
And we're grateful to get to hear your stories about it.
Yeah.
I feel blessed that you're here.
Oh, my wife would get mad at me so much sometimes about, you come in and you have to give it to the women's strength that, I was afraid to go home and let her see me in the condition I was in when I came home.
Yeah.
And she gets so mad, and but we're paid to do a job. And when officers fail to do that job, I'm very critical of them.
Yeah.
And I, but I can criticize more than some people can, because, like I said, I probably should have been killed 7 or 8 times. I was just very blessed and very lucky in my life that I was
Right.
able to survive them.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping, and this is just, I know I'm putting this out there, but I'm kind of hoping one day that you can and your wife can come on with us. I would love that. If
I
you
tried
guys
to get her
could
to tonight. I tried to. I said, we got matching coffee cups, Steve and Mrs. Steve.
Oh,
Because Wednesday night we're having coffee and clues. It's
Yep.
going to be our first little just open show for whatever comments and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's going to be Wednesday night. But so we got the coffee cups for that, and just trying to, because I've been, people don't realize how much time and effort it does to create content,
Oh yeah.
good content, something that people can rely upon. It's not simply that, I get on this here machine and I'm pushing buttons. I'm not no. It takes me a while to understand how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but even I mean, there's a certain amount of research that has to be done. You just can't go out there and create a
No.
show.
No.
some people do.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, and this is appreciation to like the creators that really put a lot of hard time and work into their shows, because you're right. Like when I create videos, even the tribute videos, and when I put content, or me and Deb, it takes a lot of time and work for sure. Absolutely. I don't think people understand that don't have a channel just how much time. Like I pretty much myself, when I get home from work, I live and breathe Delphi. My husband, whose name is Steve, like I said, he does his gaming and his streaming, and he allows me always to be the person that I am. And so he knows how much I care about this case and the true crime, and he knows it's you know what I mean. It's where my passion is with people and caring and stuff like that. But yeah, so anyways, if she would consider, maybe she'll fall in love with me or Adam or Debbie or something. Your wife, that is.
Hey, Sonny, when you were talking about the content you create, you missed a name.
I said Deb, Adam. What, I said your name.
Oh, I just heard Deb. I just heard me and Deb.
Oh my God, the narcissism.
Deb and Sonny.
No,
I see Pam here. She thinks it's funny when I call this my Google machine.
Your Google machine.
This is my access to this here thing called the web.
Yeah.
But,
I was gonna say, like I said, I find that the internet is, unfortunately, there's always going to be good and evil, and it's just, like I said, there is a wealth of information out there to be used and utilized. And as I've personally been growing as a channel over the last couple of years, and that was started with the Suzanne Morphew case. Again, I didn't know how to do a lot of things, and I just taught myself along the way. To be honest with you, usually people that know a lot about computers are usually the least helpful to me, to be honest with you. So I just found it easier just to Google search. I call it my Google Bible.
Okay.
And then I just watch videos. How do I do this? How do I use a green screen? How do I do blah, 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 blah? How do I record? How do I make a, da-da-da-da-da? And honestly, the amount of stuff that I've learned in the last couple of years, even I'm amazed at my, and I just say I'm amazed, but I just mean, like I said, I love learning. Just like we are today with your, like I said, your knowledge. What were you going to say, Adam?
I was going to say someone entered the chat that I think all three of us appreciate and like.
Absolutely.
I put it on the screen.
Oh, Fig.
Hey, Fig.
Oh, hi, Fig. We haven't seen Fig in a while.
He's one of the most intelligent men involved in this case, and has done far more for this case than and he'll never be appreciated for all that he's done. And I want to tell him right now, thank you for being and allowing me to speak with you and understand. And he's a true leader in so many senses. He's professional, he's understanding, and I appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
And Fig is a master at using critical thinking when
Yes.
he's assessing a situation. And I know he and I have had private conversations just, because I can be that same way. I'll have a feeling, but I'm like, like I said, but then, I think critical thinking is so important.
Yeah.
And
He's a
and
good
Fig
guy.
is a master at it.
Oh, I've got two brothers that are absolutely brilliant that they started in computers in the 60s.
Right.
And made careers of it. I mean, you can't even talk to them about a computer. And then of course I went a different route. I went in, law enforcement. And
Right.
of course, back then, the computers that we used, and there weren't computers, even in before 911, it was just these big reels that all phone calls were recorded reel to reel, and it was magnetic, and they clear those reels off with magnets and use them again 2 weeks later.
Do you think now, Steve, we can kind of let chat ask some questions to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, do you need to take a break? Let me ask that. Do you need to get some water? Anything? Are you good?
Good.
Okay. You know what to do. Everyone
And
has
if we
their
pick
outlet.
your brain too much, just tell us you got to go.
Yeah. So
I'm here for y'all. I'm not going to get this much opportunity. Hopefully in the future I will, but y'all have a great community. You're established. People trust you, and I'm just not going to get that many opportunities at this time in my newfound path to do this. So I most certainly am here to support you and answer and do anything I can.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Well, and we'd be happy, of course, to return the favor if you ever need a guest on your show or whatever, or just to promote it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I truly, whether some people believe this or not, it doesn't matter, because the naysayers will do this. I truly believe that we should be helping each other, not going against each other. I've seen a lot of it, and it does sadden me very much, because we're here for a purpose. The purpose, and like I said, I have no problem if I find kind people, caring people along the way, which I have. We have. Again, it's nice when you don't feel that pull, because again, it's like we're here for a purpose, a main purpose.
I was contacted the other day by another YouTuber creator, and they said somebody is talking bad about you. They're trolling you, and they're doing all this other stuff. And I said, yes, I am somebody now. Somebody recognizes me. And
I did the same thing to Sonny recently. I said, someone made a video all about me.
Yeah, well, they didn't me. They just mentioned my name. And I thought, man, this is something. I'm finally somebody, because I don't worry about anyone can attack me on the computer. I've been shot at. People trying to kill me, and I've been beat on, spit on, and what can you do with me with a keyboard?
Right. Well, I get a kick out of it mostly. Usually I just wish people were more intelligent and could do a better job at it.
Yeah.
when they're
going to troll me, you better be good.
Right. Nope.
So again, Fig.
Any question, whatever you want.
Sure. And anyone in chat, please feel free to ask Steve questions. Again, Fig, it's nice to see you, buddy. Haven't seen you in quite a while. Right. I'm kind of one of those people that,
we miss you, Fig.
You think about them, but you don't. Sometimes, you just let people do their thing because, for whatever the reasons. But glad to see you in here. It's been a while. Unless, of course, you've been secretly coming in here just to see me or Adam. Doubt, kind of, right?
I did watch Fig's video with Captain Howdy. I did watch that the other day. It was good. And I guess his dog passed away, so I'm sorry to Captain Howdy if you're watching. I know that's horrible.
Absolutely.
So
Animals
or some
are,
pet.
yeah, animals, animals, children, especially, just hard on my heart. So I am sorry for your loss on that, Fig.
Well, it wasn't Fig. I think it was
Oh, it wasn't Fig?
Howdy. No, I think it was
Oh,
Howdy.
it was
Captain
Howdy.
Howdy.
Either way, my condolences, because honestly, like, animals, and like we were talking about this earlier, um, those have my heart always. My, like, that's why, like, this case here with the Delphi, I just every the visual I always have in my head is when they're in the car with their hats on their faces, like their little winter hats, and they're just smiling. And these two girls that should be alive today are no longer here because of sick, twisted individuals. And it just, like you said, um, a female, like myself, it's like, no, 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 fight, 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 fight. These are children. Nobody does this to children. They need to pay for what they've done. And I'm from Canada. If, like I said, Steve, we don't have the death penalty here. I don't want them to have a death penalty. I want them to suffer every day, knowing what they've done and pay for it, knowing that they're behind a wall and that they're controlled in every which way, shape, and form for the most part. I want them to suffer, like, because they made families suffer, of innocence. And it's just, it,
I think that decision, and I honestly think that death penalty or not, I can see both of it, but I think that decision should always be left to the family. That
yeah,
if you want to, if you want him to be housed for the rest of their life, and from that area, fine. If you want him to be um,
yeah,
shot in the back of the head, go
yeah,
shoot him in the back of the head. Just whatever the family wants done to him. Because
yeah,
when you lose when you do what this animal has done, and you lose all right of any protection from the Constitution, and it should be left up once you're convicted, um, and then of course the family gets to choose whatever your ending would be. That's just uh,
yeah.
my dream.
Okay, exactly. Okay, so let's start off.
I'm amazed at the
Oh,
graciousness that families have sometimes when that happens.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. So
Mike Essery says, your thoughts on the ski mask incident being connected.
The team that I'm sure that is working on the Anthony Shots part of it, that I surmise is just a theory of mine, but that they're looking into that, and I'm going to look into it myself, because we're about in some of my future shows, I'm going to be looking at some of the um, uh, specifically at the interview, and looking at from my law enforcement career of what is being asked and what's being said in that interview. And that is a very troubling, the ski mask contacts during this investigation, regardless if it had anything to do with Libby and Abby, is a very concerning what was happening in that Anthony Shots account. You're talking about that if it's not connected, we got two individuals with very, very dark sides to them. But if it is connected, then once again,
Well,
that you have a very dangerous animal out there.
I was going to say, because I mean, basically, they connected because of the ski mask incident, is what made them look at the, you know, learn of the Anthony Shots and Keegan Klein, which made them realize about Libby's phone and the last contact was that. Now, again, if you remember, as I talked about this in the previous show, there was two ski mask incidents right down the road from the Klein household where Tony Klein lived and Keegan Klein lived. Now, it wasn't the house, and I need to show that again. There was a house that they lived in, but according to the brother, half brother, they moved out of that house in 2003, and they moved into the 1717 one down the road. Now, those were two ski mask incidents that happened again, right
but
in that
but several years before. It wasn't
10,
like, it
right,
wasn't
no,
like right then.
no, but the bottom line was, yeah, exactly, it was 2010 that it happened, but meaning there's two ski mask incidents prior Steve, were right where Tony Klein and that family lived, and they were just right in that same vicinity, like a mile up the road, basically. And then we have the ski mask incident that happens right after the girls were murdered.
20th.
Pardon?
On the
Yeah.
20th.
Yeah.
And
So
I'll get with you on that because that's very interesting. I'll need when I start, because I there's so much to this case and I'm so new to it that I didn't know about those other two. This is brand new
Yeah.
to me.
And we don't know that they're related, but to me,
No, I don't either. But it's
Right.
very
Yeah.
interesting.
thing I speculate that the ski mask incident has a
Well, I mean,
it
we
has
have
a
to
lot
look
to
at
do with Delphi.
yeah. There's a
And
lot
I
about
think-
it. What time of day did it occur? What time of day did the two previous ones occur? Is it someone that's evolving, aging, and most certainly being when a school bus unloading with a ski mask? That's very interesting, which is in the same time period as what happened with Rich Guy.
But it's
Well,
also a very dicey thing to investigate and to talk about because we were talking about a 14-year-old girl, and so I would never put names like that out there. So I mean, there's only so far you can go with that type of a lead, especially when you do think it if you feel like it has significance.
Yes, and how valid it is, I don't know. I know nothing about it. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen the articles. I don't know if there's been any type of what was released on it and how valid it is.
for which one?
Well, you can read about it in the transcripts in the 194-page document. I mean,
I know it's referred to that it did happen, but I don't know all the details from the girl and how valid her points were.
Yeah.
Right.
And
True.
In the there's an article that I'll send you, which is about the other two ski masks incidents, and basically one of them was that they actually had a car patrol for when they got off the bus as well, because the one mother, it basically happened to one of the girls when she was like getting off the bus, and so it was one of those things that the cops had, like I said, watched it for a few days. So I'll send you the link for that. Yeah, and we can talk about that for sure. Absolutely.
I saw the question about the K9 on the scene.
Yeah.
I know there's Sheriff Toby, when he mentions that he turned K9 around, he was very saddened by turning the K9 around. That was one of his biggest mistakes in the case. There's a video made by one of the news channels of where the search team wearing the red suits is going down the trail to the scene. There's a K9 coming, meeting them in a controlled area. It appears to be that it's a K9 handler.
Yeah.
And it's in a section of the area that would be secured, that where these people are and where they're going in is not public access. That is zoomed in from outside. That you have several layers on crime scenes. You'll have a absolute no enter zone adjacent to where the major crime scene is, and then you'll have an assembly area that is on another layer, and then you may have a third where the public and the news crew is.
Right.
And so to have an animal K9, and there's so many different things that these K9s can be trained for.
Right.
I mean, from there's K9 institutions out there that great advances have been made in since I've been gone, of that they'll even take you into a crime scene and they can identify certain biologicals so that you don't destroy or you don't contaminate. And so there's, what capabilities did that K9 have? I have no idea. Was it a tracking dog? Don't know. Was it one that could do crime scenes? Don't know. Was it, I don't know what was at the scene. Don't know what the K9 and what that handler focus was.
Right.
Don't know how many dogs were there, but I do know there was one dog there that appears to be handled by a handler.
Right. But yeah, and so I think people do get confused by that a lot because they think that They don't, because they're not thinking about what you're saying. They don't know what that dog could have done. So it might not have been a cadaver dog, or
it could have been it may have, yeah. I mean, they wouldn't really need cadaver dogs. They've got bodies.
Right.
They would need tracking dogs, or they would need some dogs specialized in a certain um, abilities to be able to work the scene. I mean, because there's a lot of dogs that have, with a good handler, dogs can do a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Ask Steve if he thinks it's possible, if it's a possibility that the Delphi murders was recorded and if it was posted on the dark web.
I would say that there's a good chance with some of if he meets a certain type of visionary type of offender that he feeds off of either pornography or control, or if he's like BTK of into photography and stuff of staging victims, staging crime scenes, that most certainly he, like the FBI agent said in there, that it's not unreasonable to expect that a certain type of offender would do and memorialize the event. And so it most certainly that may be his trophy that he did, along with that he, he created a trophy that he can go home at his own leisure and watch. Or did he take certain items as trophies from the victims of Libby and Abby? But to sell on the, I'm not along that theory that he would take it to sell. The exposure and the risk factor, does that exist? I don't know, but I know that the risk factors of such a thing, I think, would be that if it was out there. I mean, how do you market such a thing?
Well, on Wednesday night's show, a young gentleman that has been on the dark web, and I was talking with him at work. And so he's going to be on the live on Wednesday night, and he's going to be talking to us about the red rooms and very interesting stuff, very scary stuff he was telling me about. So I'm actually looking forward to that live as well, even if it has nothing to do with the Delphi case or Keegan Klein's, what Keegan Klein's doing and stuff like that. It's still very important information that people should know, I feel. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But the creating movies that are not based upon true stuff is one thing. That there may be stuff sold out there, it looks like it is actually snuff films and on the web, but they're not actually snuff films.
Right.
But when you have actual victims, you got $325,000 out there that, that's, and how do you keep it and such? And I just don't believe it, that it was created. If a video was created, it wasn't to be sold. It's just part of his trophy.
Right. But do you think it would be more likely that if someone were to sell something from like that, now the souvenirs they may have taken from the crime scene, and again, this is just speculation, but that's a tangible item that I think there is a market for, and people buy that kind of stuff on the internet all the time. Meaning, like the items of clothing.
Once again, though, I know they sell the items from like known serial killers or known killers, and there's auctions and stuff, and there's sometimes the courts decide that, we're going to destroy everything he has so it doesn't ever meet that part of the web where things are sold. Because there's some sick individuals out there that buy weird things. I personally think that the psychopath of this magnitude, that like BTK didn't put anything out there to sell. He kept it all for himself. These people are about self-motivation, self-gratification. They're not there to please anyone but themselves. That the person that with this personality trait, they're not there to please anybody. They could care less in this fantasy world of serving anyone but themselves.
But so, what do you think, though, of the fact that Carter himself has slipped up and said they, knowing that Keegan Klein been in contact with Libby's phone on that morning of the murders, um, and the fact that he's in videography, he's into the child porn, and that the BG, perhaps others, are part of, are peons working for um, a bigger person, bigger people, whether it's bike gang related individuals, whether it's, like I said, judges, whatever, meaning people that are more power. Does any part of you think that the BG and whoever else might be involved are just peons doing their part?
Well, you have to look at that. What was the victimology of Libby and Abby? That most certainly they exposed themselves unknowingly being catfished. You know, their children. They didn't know the dangers, obviously, and so they placed themselves, unfortunately, in the path of a psychopath. And was that psychopath based upon that they became targeted because of the Anthony shots? And if they became targeted because of the Anthony shots, was it due to that Libby and Abby might have recognized someone or came across some information that could have possibly destroyed someone? And this psychopath or whatever motive he had in addition, that he had to act. Most certainly, that is something that law enforcement, that's not something that only I could think of. All the law enforcement and the behavioral science units, they're looking into that. They've looked into it, and they're going to continue to look into that possibility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me just scroll down here. Ask Steve about DNA. Ask Steve about how Ellie may or may not have collected that says TK's DNA. But in saying that, just as an overall as well, they've talked about DNA, that they have DNA. They've made the comment of it's not what people would think. Yeah, just give us your thoughts on what this question says, and the rest, to be honest, on the DNA part.
DNA. Goodness, everywhere you go, you carry your DNA and you pick up other people's DNA. Any type of physical contact, there's a strong likelihood, especially if there's violent contact, or if there's something that, you may not be the one inflicting the violence. It may be that you're just a victim and you're receiving some type of assault, that there will be transfers of DNA. It may be just simply from contact. It may be from some defensive moves or counter-offensive of them trying to protect themselves, that they can collect DNA. When you go into a crime scene and when you're processing these victims, of course, you have that you go in, you may you package and you protect that body as best you can from being contaminated as you remove it from the crime scene, trying to get the victim to a controlled area inside a lab or something, so that you can go in there and do those fingernail scrapings, those clippings. You do those tape lifts all over them, because there's a lot of DNA from hair and fibers as you collect it, and you get the hair samples. You check oral to see in case some. I don't know if you've ever been bitten.
Yes,
I have. By
German Shepherd.
But no, I'm talking about by people.
Oh, been bitten by people, like
goodness.
physically bitten. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. When you get into it, and like I said, and women are extremely prone to bite, and so there's all different types of collections they may have been done. And not saying that they did this, but in general, all this areas of possible DNA would have been looked at. I mean, you have to speculate, but I know what would have happened on a crime scene that we processed is that, of course, you would go and you do the hands evaluation of the fingernails and do the scrapings, the clippings, check, make sure, did one of the girls, were they able to bite him, or was there a confrontation? Is there some sign of that? Because like I said, you can get DNA a lot of different ways.
Right. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about them taking the dog from the clients? Right.
There's, in the search warrant itself, it talks about animal hairs, so was that part of it? Don't know. Was it just an animal rescue? It depends on who went and got the dog.
Yeah.
If there was a search warrant, and hopefully murder sheets or someone else goes out there and finds the search warrant. And if it says in that search warrant that they went and collected the dog, then most certainly that is clues saying that there's dog hairs at the crime scene.
Right.
And so you can, just by analyzing and using common sense, the search warrant, such as what Ron Logan's search warrant was, you can look at it and draw certain conclusions. And now, if this was just the dog pound come to get his dog, that's a different thing versus that it's a search warrant that was issued for the obtaining that animal.
Right. I would love to see that search warrant.
Yes. Yes. And if that dog was taken by search warrant or if it was taken by just dog pounds, two different storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so with all the information, this information that's murder sheets has been dropping in the last little bit, what are your thoughts literally on how come it is that it's just been compiling on us lately? It's like, boom, here's a warrant. Boom, here's a transcript. Boom. What's your thoughts?
I've been asked to analyze that, and next week I've got 2 shows coming out next week on that, just on the transcript.
Perfect.
Looking at it from my perspective to see if I can bring any value to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's saying that it was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago that the transcripts were made from an interview.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
On the cover sheet, and I don't have a problem sharing with you that and to the vote, right? It is stamped 3/3/22 as being filed with the clerk of the court.
Right.
To be filed with the clerk of the court means that there was some type of court hearing or there's something being brought to the court's attention, and doesn't mean it was just this interview. It could have been a massive data dump that they're prepping for trial. And for us to get everything into court so that we can have it as we bring it into court and to evidence that we have these things. And so it could have been a massive dump, and murder sheets through whatever investigative friends, neighbors, whoever said, hey, we're dumping this, and it's there. Did they, but now if it's just that this was the only one, if just, let's speculate that this was the only document that was filed that day, that it's not part of the other, then that gives me great hope.
The Tony Klein's other arrest records were updated on on similar dates. I mean, they weren't changed. But they went and updated them and loaded them into the My Case on Indiana State, the website.
Yeah.
All around that same time.
Well, and like I said, Keegan's about to go to court this in a few months. So I think they've moved it back to September or something.
September,
yeah. And so this may all just be preparation for that. But most certainly during discovery or something, the court's just going to make sure that everybody has access to it. And it could have been part of that. And that this was just part of a pre-filing discovery, making sure everybody's on the same page, and we don't have any type of where someone fails to provide all the information that may exonerate, or which you ain't going to exonerate this man. Mr. Klein's got issues.
Right. And could that also be information that would be uploaded, for use in a grand jury?
Of course. I mean, he's already been indicted.
No,
Or
no,
that.
I mean, if they were to like, be looking at Tony.
Yeah. The district attorney wouldn't have to go through the court for that part of it.
I mean, just to upload they wouldn't upload those files like
not for grand juries.
Okay.
Yeah. Like when we turn case files over to the DA, and then the DA would handle and they'd take it straight to whatever grand jury you wanted to.
Right.
But now when they start going into the court systems, they'd have to file certain, and they'd be certain hearings of what could and couldn't be allowed, wouldn't be allowed. But that's here in Georgia. I don't know up there in Indiana. They may be on a totally different rule base.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna post your link again for anyone that's new or just watching. Again, I'm gonna post Steve's channel. Please subscribe and go over to his channel. Again, he's, as said, he's been up for about a month now, and he's creating content. And I think, Steve, just to double check, you said that you and your wife, you and your Miss Steve, do it on Wednesdays. Is that when you guys do it together?
Yes, and we just, I get with other content creators, and because I don't have a large footprint, I'm just starting out.
Yet, yeah.
So I get with like Marvin Frank, and I see when they're going to be broadcasting. I'll see when you're going to be, because I can't compete against you guys. And
yes, it's not about competing though. Really.
No, I know, but I'm talking about that. There's no need for information to be lost. It's not that I'm competing.
Gotcha.
I just don't want that your content or my content gets lost in the mixture of what is I consider quality content. I don't care if I'm against someone that I have no interest. I look at their content, and it's nothing it's something that doesn't bring any quality or positivity to the case.
No, I think that's polite of you, because I know we do the same. I mean, we've noticed like the night that Marv and Frank were interviewing,
a couple times,
we'll push ours back 30 minutes, or if we see someone's going,
and Sleuth has done the same, I think, too.
We typically try to always do ours around 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and but we can be flexible when
it's because I'm from Canada and my time is like 9:30 right now, whereas I'm not sure what time zone you're in there, Steve, but I know 8. Adam.
Yeah, we usually try to do it by 8, get done around 9:15. I try to do a presentation just like I would if I was briefing my investigative team, that when you create these slideshows, and that's just the way that I try to bring, because you can say so much in law enforcement, that when you working with these officers, you spend the time to try to get everybody with the information as quick as possible. And I just carried that over into what I believe is hopefully will serve my community well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we'll always try to encourage people, like if we're ending, we'll be like, oh, someone's going live at 11 o'clock, head over to Sleuth's channel or whatever. So we try to do the same thing. We always try to support other responsible creators.
Yeah. I don't think that there needs to be any sort of power and control trying to, do things, you know what I mean? I think of that, like I think I said to you already, Steve, that, that to me, that's greedy if people feel like they have to have that control. But for us here, we just like to share. And if you're a good person and we think you're a good channel and a good person, we have no problem saying, hey, promote your channel in here, because it's not one of those things. It's not about hogging any spotlight. It's just about bringing justice and helping each other out. Where did Aspen go? Cordy's asking about.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So my nose was itching and I didn't want to pick it on camera.
Oh.
but yeah.
That was my dinner for later. Darn it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think the important thing is I don't think it should matter who's right or who gets information first.
Correct.
No.
I mean, if someone tells me something privately, I mean, I'm careful as to how I talk about it or present it, but I would never be like, this was in my information and I got it and I'm going to release it and not tell anyone else, But there are people that do that.
I'm new to this and I'm learning. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. And
Oh,
My
we all
biggest
do.
mistakes is when I make comments in chat that people may read them that I'm talking about them when I'm talking about me as first person.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
learned how to master that yet.
Yeah.
Generally, when I talk about that, uh, what I know, or that from I don't go in there when I watch other people's content. I most certainly don't go in there and try to guide their content because I'm
No,
there to learn.
Same.
I mean, I was going to say too, I usually don't, if I am in a channel, which isn't too often, I go over to sluice a little bit here and there. Like I was telling you earlier, I don't really go into too many channels, but when I'm there, I just usually either don't say anything at all. And sometimes every now and again, I'll just be like, hey, like I said, I'm just there to listen for a moment and then move on. I'm not there to be disrespectful to a channel or
Right.
say anything actually, besides, hey, how's it going? And most times, if I am, no one will even know I'm there. You know, I mean, the only insight it does give sometimes is that you can truly see who the people are that are talking smack about you sometimes in a different channel that come over to this channel and be all nice. But, but you know what? That's just the world, and that's
I
just
don't
how.
usually see that. Usually people send it to yes,
Yeah, yeah.
but no, I mean, and
But
I think I would never go into someone's channel and be rude to them on their channel in their chat.
so
I'm like,
in Yeah, well, so can I ask you your thoughts on this? For instance, um, you know, and this isn't just happened on our channel, but there's these people that come in and make up names like Sonny, I'm going to come to your home and slit your throat,
Mhm.
or Deb, I'm going to come to your house and kill you.
Mhm.
What is your thoughts on these people that are coming in? Like, do you think that they're just distractors for the case, or that they just kind of go around the true crime community trying to harass people that they think that they can bully around? I don't know. What's your thoughts on those ones that are coming in to true crime?
Trolls do what trolls do.
Hmm.
They try to take the focus off of what your content is and bring it and disrupt your thought patterns, your presentations, and they won't be focused on them. They're narcissistic. You know,
Yeah. Oh
you,
yeah.
you won't come
right,
cut my throat. Hey, bud.
That's what I say.
Yeah,
Please
yeah, yeah.
do it. Do it as
You won't be
swiftly
the
as
first
quickly as
one.
you can.
You won't be the first one that tried. and
right,
and it just won't work out for you, bud.
Yeah.
But no, people that have that intent are not going to broadcast and advertise it, and if they do, it doesn't work out for them.
Yeah. Hmm.
right.
Anyways, honestly, I know we're at the 3 hour mark, and I really don't want to take up much of your time, but I do want to just show something quickly for Kelsey's. I just wanted to give the viewers. So basically, Steve, Kelsey's getting married. Kelsey German, Libby's sister. She's getting married on June 25th. And again, if anyone does want to make a donation for Kelsey's wedding, it's on June 25th. As a group, I will be making a video from It's a Criming Shame and the subscribers, and to people that have all the donators that have donated, regardless if it was actually meant for Kelsey or for our lip gloss fund, whichever, doesn't matter. Your name will be put on there.
Yeah.
So I promised that I was going to do this, I think, last week, and then I got busy with other things, and I just wanted to give a peep of that. I want to say that Kelsey has been a great advocate for her sister, Libby. She's changed her life around. I'm not sure how much you know about Kelsey, Steve, but her career path has changed. Now she is an advocate, and she just got her diploma. What would her diploma? It's in was it in forensics or
Forensics,
forensic science? Was it? I'm sorry, I can't
I believe
quite
so. Yeah,
remember.
but
But
she's become an advocate for all families of missing and murdered people. She does so much work on social media,
and
and
she would be Libby would be so proud of her sister, and Abby too.
Absolutely. Once again, the legacy that what Libby and Abby have done and what they will do and what this family's opportunity and embracing such a tragedy and still being able to bring that what their platform will do for saving other children about the catfishing and
Yeah.
being able to educate society and our communities is absolutely unbelievable. And I admire you for what you're doing here.
Yeah, you know what? Again, I just think that I'm like personally for me, I'm just very proud of Kelsey. She's been through the ringer a lot. Um, she's been attacked on many levels. It's very sad. There's the PayPal link if anyone does wish to contribute to this. But I just kind of wanted to quickly show this, if you don't mind. Here, I'm just going to pull us out of the screen. I will go make it bigger. And hold on, let me just go into my. This is the Filmora Wondershare program. This one, but let me just make it bigger. Create this bigger. So this is just a little sample. Okay, guys, I'm working on it, and it's just a little sample. Okay. Okay. Um, and then basically, so let me just come out of this for a second. Minimize you. Bring us back up to the chat. There we go. So basically it was kind of like this, and then I'm going to be adding people's names as it goes along, whatever, transitions and different things. So again, I just wanted to say thank you for all those people that have made contributions. The wedding is going to be in 12 days. I'm very proud of Kelsey and everything that she has done. So blessed to her and her special wedding day, and she deserves this happiness coming at her. And their families have been through a lot of heartache and pain and grief, torture, to be honest with
and
you,
continue to be.
and continue to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really quickly, someone did ask a question. I don't know if we went over it, but they've
Sure.
asked it a few times, so I just wanted to make sure that they didn't think we were ignoring it. Let's put it on the screen there.
Yeah, we addressed that earlier, so evidently
I think Terry might have missed it.
Yeah. As we discussed earlier about this, is that sometimes as task force, that I believe that they probably did recognize that the child porn and the Klein issues and Anthony shots, they recognized that there was the child porn ring existed. They just, rather than arrest Mr. Klein originally, task force, or for whatever reason, notorious for running things for multiple years past the original discovery date. And times that is often so that they can get the biggest bang for the buck. The government sometimes will look at some victims as just the cost of doing business. It's a sad, and I'll argue that point. I'm against that. I think that if you discover someone's doing something to a certain subset of society, you should act right then. But then you have to look at, well, that if we run it for a year, we run it for 2 years, how many more lives can we have? And I'm sure there's someone out there that's a statistician that can figure out that exactly what is the point of when we should act. I'm not pleased that the investigation came back and it reveals that it's been 2 to 3 year investigation. But the people that made that decision have to live with that decision and have to back that decision up and forever, especially if I talk to them, they're not on my, I just don't believe that they should do that. But you see it all the time. Like I said earlier, in the DEA, when they're doing with the drug task force, they'll run these pill mills 2 or 3 years, neglecting all the victims that occur within that 2 or 3 years and the impact on communities. And it's the same when ATF comes in and they go into these gangs that are buying guns, and how many victims are lost, over the 1 and 2 year extended thing, and also with the child porn ring, uh, you know, and I think it's sad that uh, I most certainly believe they recognized the child porn when they first saw it, and they just chose to run it for whatever length of period, and I just don't agree with that strategy.
Mm-hmm. Just so, only because Michael, he's from Hunting Evil. He said he's getting frustrated because he's tired of asking questions. So maybe if you could answer this one. So Michael follows, Delphi, but more, if you've heard of the Karina McClurkin case.
I actually spoke to the grandmother last week.
Oh, right.
Jerry.
And I spoke to Jerry for, I've contacted her a couple of times, and hopefully there's some opportunities to do certain things in the future.
Okay. So Michael's question was, can you ask Steve the level of brutality takes a certain level of evil to do what they did to girls and knife if personal? And then they dismembered Karina after her death. Okay. So this is like, we don't want to say this is fact because we really don't know for sure, positive. But for like, I don't even know what to say.
When you're dealing with these psychopaths, it's whatever feeds their fantasy.
Yeah.
Are they into bondage? Is there going to be ropes involved? Are they in? It's whatever feeding their pornography and their this fantasy world. Do they enjoy? I mean, is it the Jack the Ripper scenario of where we dismember and we take body parts apart, or we inflict certain injuries? Do we make, and by inflicting certain injuries, is that a signature? We don't know exactly of whichever one, but regardless of the case of anywhere in the country, there's certain things that drive that fantasy, and they drive that psychopath to commit these crimes and do these things. And each of them, it most certainly will be repetitive and may progress and get more progressive in types of injuries and collection of trophies if they're into that part. But just the mere killing is a certain level of evil. But But then when you get into these people that do these certain things, it most certainly is someone that you don't want around you or your children.
Like, obviously the Chris Watts case, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I really don't like talking about him because I think he's a piece of disgusting poop. Okay. But so something like that, where his wife comes home and they've had sex and etc., and then he jumps on her and starts strangling her. Do you, just to ask you your opinion on this, do you think that was one of those things that just happened in the spur of the moment? Like, probably he was thinking of ways he could get rid of his wife, but I mean, the fact of that particular night, do you think it was just something triggered with him, and that it was like, not that it was premeditated to happen that moment, but he might have thought about killing her, like probably different scenarios ran through his head? But I always thought with that one, it wasn't one of those things that it was necessarily planned to happen that night. It's just something triggered, something pissed him off, something whatever. And it was like, he just lost everything that night. Control, just, I'm going to kill you.
I think that there was with him, from what I've watched of the series, and whenever you're watching this creative documentaries of him, that he went through a weight loss, and he went through having these affairs. And so he most certainly was fantasizing not being married and not having children. And so at what point did he start making plans? What point did he start looking and saying, how could I do this and how could I do that? And he, like I said,
because it's not like he, like it's not like, say, Delphi, where it was perfectly staged to look like something different, to mislead. Whereas with his case, it's kind of like, he drives them off into this oil patch thing. And like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, how would you explain that? It's like it's planned, but I don't know if that was planned that particular night to happen.
He used their debit card to buy dinner the night before for him and his mistress, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a conscious decision.
Yeah, he's not at the peak of above high IQ, peak criminal genius. He's not no Lex Luthor.
Right.
But most certainly he's just as evil.
Oh, absolutely.
Once you start, not that it's any less evil to kill your wife, but when you take it to the level of your children, there's a certain amount of, this man is ruthless.
Oh, yeah.
And the manner he did it.
Oh, yes. And, would he have done it again if he got away with it? What happens with his next love interest? And they have children. He finds, I can do better.
Right.
There was certain staging as far as the home that he did, and he tried to explain away that I'm the concerned husband. I've lost my wife. Please come back. He staged it. He set up everything from the interviews to the phone and the wedding ring, and to make it look like almost that she run away, and that she was just a runaway that took the kids.
Right. But then put the house on the market and, withdrew the kids from school that day. And just, and drove his truck to the, the oil site.
And even, and I'm not going to get into this case because I think it's the most wackiest, no, not this one, but the Vallow case. It's one of the most absurd, wackiest cases ever that I literally had to stop watching. But the fact that she literally married, like seriously, within a couple of weeks or whatever it was, a month, after her, whatever it was, husband died, it was just wacko.
However, another
within that family,
in an interrogation, because the woman is the one that got him to break in the interrogation. If you watch that interview, it's that female investigator that is the one that was able to get him to break down and open up and tell them everything.
Yes. What were you going to say there, Mike? Mike, Steve. I don't know where I got Mike from all of a sudden. Mike.
I just, like you was talking about, this is the one that killed and went to Hawaii.
Yeah, the Vallow case.
These people, they have to have a certain amount of evil in them for the fact that all you had to do is call up another family member and say, hey, we're going to run off and be married. There's here in the South, it's nothing uncommon for other family members to pick up a child and raise it for another family member.
Yeah.
There's no need to kill a child.
Yeah.
Call me. I'll raise your child.
Right.
Don't kill the child.
Right.
Go off and live your life. Go jump in the ocean. I don't care, but don't kill your child.
I know. It's honestly my heart. Steve, back when I was 26, and I know we're going to get going here, but back when I was 26, I made a conscious choice to not watch the news anymore, not read the paper. Every time I opened it up, every time I listened to the news, it was always about murders and deaths and, killings. And it just internally, as I'm reading it, like I said, being a deep empath for people, I just would sit there in such sorrow because my mind instantly goes from reading that article to what now has happened to this family, that they woke up this morning and all of a sudden their whole life changed. They've lost their child. Their child was thrown over a bridge that their mother did. The mother drove into a water, drowned her 4 kids, stuff. And I just couldn't bear that heartache and pain. And honestly, I never revisited anything like this again up until I was watching my YouTube, just watching away, and the Delphi case came to the side of my chat of my, the list or whatever. And I was like, don't click on it, don't click on it, don't click on it. No, 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 no. Click. I just had to know about that. Like something made me click on that. Just because I was like, wait, why two
No.
two girls murdered?
And I have people even in my community now that's asking me what cases or where am I going to go next? And, and I've got to make those decisions because there's other families and other victims out there that deserve just as much justice. And
one will reach out to you. One will hit you and you won't be able to not look into it,
Oh yeah. And I get suggestions all the time, and I don't know which one I'm going to do right now. I don't know if I know there's so many out there, but what can I have to ultimately at the end of the day look at that? What impact can I have on a case by looking at it through the eyes of what I can bring to the table?
Correct.
Not what the tip, is not saying I'm any smarter than any of you. I'm not. It's just that I've been trained to look at things in different ways.
Yeah, and definitely your skill set is a lot better than ours for this stuff.
Completely different. Yeah, you bring something totally different to the table.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been thousands of dollars spent on what I think.
Yeah, well,
I'm not take for granted. I am not. I don't know if you consider me I most certainly am not. This is of what I've been trained to do, and I, everywhere I take this and how I take this and how I try to progress the web sleuth community and trying to educate them to help solve things is the only thing I can help. Me and wife, we've got to decide how we're going to progress with, and do I travel and go to certain areas? Will that have a great impact? I mean, I've been asked to go to Delphi, and I don't know if I'm going to go or not right now. I don't want to go unless it's in the same time period, because there's so much stuff that could be learned during that period.
Yeah, not tonight, Michael. And I'll ask you one question on the way out. Do you think that the Evansdale yourself, have you heard of the Evansdale girls case? Do you think that Delphi and the Evansdale case are connected? But have you heard of that case?
How much information do you have on the Evansdale's case?
I have virtually not even looked at it.
That's where I'm at. If there's a creator out there that has a lot of information on it, get with me for the fact that there's no need for me. I mean, it's not that, but if you are absolutely, the professor of the Evandale's case, let me know, and I will work with you, collab with you, and we will most certainly look at this in depth and try to bring some clarity to that. But for me to try to go out and do that, that's from what every case. I've been working on Delphi right now for since Marvin Frank now, 3 months. And I still only know 25% of what I should know. But
one frustrating thing with Evansdale is, kind of like Delphi, there's not a lot of verified information out about that case, and it's older than Delphi. They've never officially said.
Wasn't that 2012?
July 13th, 2012.
Similar communities, similar
your birthday.
They've
demographics.
Never released the murder weapon. We don't know, similar.
Two girls, and was this just going to be another abduction? Although we're looking at young ladies, with Delphi, where the other ones were obvious children,
right?
And if you're looking at pedophiles and certain predators, they'll target a certain age group. Mm-hmm. They won't go outside the boundaries. Right. That doesn't mean. But now you take BTK. Now BTK, he didn't care if he was 9 years old or if he was 50 years old or 60 years old. He was a very brutal animal.
Right.
Yeah. Peace Not Silence says I have some info written up about the Evansdale stuff, and I can do a video of the basics and then share the link with you for it. Just to ask you, Steve, did you want us to drop your email for when people can contact you or not?
Oh, it's no problem.
Yeah.
If, like I said, I'm here to try to, if I can have a positive impact on anyone's life and on any case, most certainly, I haven't reached the point now that I can, as I do my research and I haven't been overwhelmed, but now I'm having, I'm on the computer 8 hours a day now.
And we took up 3.5 of it.
Oh, like I said, this is an opportunity. Y'all are doing good, and I admire you. And I'm not going to have this many opportunities to speak to such a
Oh, yes, you will.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be picking your brain again.
Yeah.
If
Do you think
if we can?
Do you think your wife? You can ask her. Just ask her if she would consider doing a live with us all. If she,
absolutely. She, like I said, I upgraded her to my Google machine technician. That's her new job title.
Yeah, and like
did she get a pay raise?
I mean,
yes.
Just for the fact that my husband's name is Steve as well,
Mm-hmm.
as well as my ex-husband's name was Steve as well. It says something here, Steve. Right, we're connected already. But
I'll tell you a funny story about that. When you sent me an email the other day, and I was trying to answer you back, and I kept hitting my to get your email address put into who, and it kept coming up Sonny and Steve, and I said, I don't want to send it to me. What is? And then I remembered it. I said, well, I remember your husband's name, and then I said, oh, okay, that's what the Sonny's doing.
Yeah. You because yours, that is my personal email, that one.
Okay.
The one that comes up is it's a criming shame, but it's my husband's and my name. Sonny and Steve, but that's my personal one. Whereas I have a criming shame, I have a few that I've made.
Yeah, it just came up there, and I said, dang, what am I doing here?
I know. I've done that before too, where I've sent something and I'm like, it's almost like I want to attach something for that because I forgot to attach something. And then all of a sudden I see my own email go off and I'm like, dang. And I'm like, wait, what? Did I just send this to myself?
at least you didn't accidentally put your personal one on the live one night and then started getting random emails from people like I did.
Right. I know when Adam did that too. I have a question for you, Steve, quickly. Do you know someone, because I would love to have someone on here that might go over that cryptic note and talk about handwriting skills? Do you know anyone at all that is in that field of like, how we read body language and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, you got, when you talk about that cryptic notes and stuff and puzzles and crossword puzzles and deciphering codes and stuff, code breakers, that's a totally different animal than I'm sure that within the GBI and FBI they have those, but
there was this I think it's task force, true crime, it's something task force, and then they have someone that they have this one lady that talks about body language, another one that talks about facial expressions, another one that talks about handwriting. And I'm just like, cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's let you go. Steve, thank you so much.
Well, I hope I did Deb proud as her stand-in for tonight. And
she'll be jealous. She'll be jealous she wasn't here.
Yeah. As well too, Steve, just let the viewers know again. Maybe, like I said, you said you're going to be doing lives. Your channel is True Crime Web. Your wife and you will go on at what time on Wednesdays typically?
Generally 8 on Wednesday is when we're this week we're doing something a little bit different. It's not going to be the detailed slideshow stuff, although I will have I think I got a 10 slide introduction I'm going to be covering about where we stand with DEFI and everything right now. But that's just going to be the coffee and clues this week. But next week I go into the dismantling the Anthony Shots
Yeah.
transcript stuff.
Yeah. Perfect.
Nice.
And
I definitely would have some questions about that.
yeah.
Well, I'm on page. It's taken me 3 days to get to page 40.
Oh, really? 3 days?
Is this just the first time you're reading it?
Yeah.
I think I'm on the third or fourth time I've read that.
Actually, this is my first time. Yes.
Steve, this is it right here. 194 pages on small paper of the whole thing. Because sometimes
Is that one marked up in the top corner? Does it have the file date?
Let's
On the front face sheet, top left-hand corner or top right-hand corner. Does it show clerk file date?
It should on the cover page.
Well, this is the cover page here. Videotaped.
It'd be right on the edge.
It'd be what?
It's on the edge of the sheet of paper. It'd be right on the edge.
Yeah, this is number 1. It says, it says in Miami court term.
Yes, it should be in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah, it says term 2022.
Yeah, so that shows you that there was some type of court action for 2022.
Right.
But the online one I looked at has the clerk file date on it. I don't know if it was just that someone, but when I looked at it, it was stamped. It's in red, and it says clerk file date. Which the only way clerk file date, quarter to clerk gets that is that. So, and I don't know if I just looked upon that or not.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, this is, I don't know. I mean, it's the.
I'll send you the.
Unredacted.
I'll send you the image of it in just a few minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
And it's part of my presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there.
Sunny, then drop it in the messenger so I can see it too, please.
Their way.
Will you drop it in messenger after you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Again, it's been a pleasure, Stephen.
It's been an honor for me.
Oh, it's been a definite honor for us, and I know that
we're lucky.
The chat, and I feel blessed. So thank you. Yeah. Again, like to literally have someone that's in your field, that stuff that we just are clueless to, that we can only read. There's nothing better than having someone with the experience and the knowledge. And like I said, you can tell that you're just a loving, caring person. And I know that your channel is going to be successful. I can see some people have been subscribing to it tonight as well. And you're only going to grow and flourish at the end of the day, to be honest. So again, my
only hope is that we do something good for the community and for society.
Absolutely.
I hope I have a greater impact than what I've already had, and hopefully I've had a good impact in my life. And
you know what? Again, I feel like people that come in here, like the people that are watching, it's about being selfless instead of selfish.
Yes, with whatever you're doing, if you do it for the right reasons, you'll have a positive outcome.
Absolutely. I've watched some channels. Yeah, honestly, I've watched some channels just grow and grow and grow, and then I've watched those ones that attack people and stuff, and they stay stagnant, like they don't move very fast. And then
if y'all do have an opportunity to look at my channel, watch them, evaluate them, and get back with me and tell me where I'm missing and what I'm missing, how can I improve and get the message across in a better, more controlled way that will have an impact. Because from my first video, when me and the wife thought we knew how to do StreamYard.
StreamYard is actually like quite simple.
Well, but when sharing screens and bringing up documents and and having a 20-slide presentation ready for the first broadcast.
Yeah.
And my wife looks at me and says, "This ain't working." And we're 3 minutes before broadcast.
Oh yeah. Steve, we did our I have one night with Deb, one night a week, and we did our first one a couple weeks ago. So like I said, I'm new to this too, and I was running the behind the scenes stuff, and like we were like on air, and like the audio all went to hell, and I was like, I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, please just start working.
I know.
So yeah, I get it.
Steve, you know, I know I keep saying I'm gonna let you go, but then I was looking at a picture. So, just for the people that are out there, so do you believe that there was a person or persons underneath the bridge, that photo that you were looking at?
Marvin Frank, that was one probably the premiere of why I went on that show is that there was a great debate if there was or wasn't. I asked them and presented to them that there most certainly appears to be.
Yeah.
And there's certain ways, and if I ever get out to Delphi, what I'll do is that there's certain things called controls and control tests that ultimately to decide that you would have to place people under that bridge, and from that position, take images. If the scale works, the scale works. If it doesn't, then that's no. But until you have those controls and tests, there's so much stuff that the human mind can see and project that unless you do these controls, there's going to be speculation one way or the other. I don't know which one was.
And you'd have to use the same device as well, right? Like you'd have to,
as long as you use some of the shadows and persons, it would show relatively close. That is the scale correct? That if we put a person average height, 5'8" here, or a girl or a woman or a man, and you put them in that position just for scale, you would get close whether or not. If you had the actual device, most certainly. But if you don't have it, it would still put it to scale.
Okay. So if you were using like an iPhone that was 5 models older versus using a newer one, you think it wouldn't make a difference?
No, as long as from what you see there, whatever scale it was, and when you did the transparency overlay, it would tell you if the scale fit or not.
Okay. I guess then knowing the authenticity of the original photo would be important, right?
If you did a scale and you put it in there, and everybody, that the only way that there is someone under there is that it's people that are 3'5", then of course we know it's not. Or if you put people in there and everybody else is 10 foot tall, then we know it's not. But if you put people in there and suspected in multiple positions and do an overlay, that will either prove or disprove. But until that's done, there's going to be an argument. Is it or is it not?
Well, my question is always, I'm sorry, Sonny.
No, go ahead.
My question is always, and I ask this with everything I look at is when I'm looking at a picture if I don't know that I'm looking at the exact original photo, how can I base something on? How can I base what I'm seeing on what might already be altered, what might be enhanced in different ways?
Exactly, because I can create that. What I can do with, and when you see a couple of my videos of what I actually, in one of my videos, took Bridge Guy's jacket off of Bridge Guy, and I put it on Frank, and I put it on Randy, and I put it on Marv's son. And there's nothing that you can't do. And I'm from the old school, learning Photoshop back in the old days.
Yeah.
In this digital age, there's nothing that you can't do, and it's hard to prove or disprove which way it was.
Right. I'm always like, you don't know if there's an overlay on the picture, that's because AI programs are designed to create sense where there's no sense, so that they'll try to match pictures with something else you put in there.
Yeah.
And that's where the controls will answer. And that's when you do those control tests, that's when that would be answered.
Yeah. Because for me, Adam asked me this question the other day. And I said that about 90% of my photos are from the original ISP video. But I need to enhance with color, not manipulate the pictures, but I need to enhance with color in order to show the different moles, the different face, meaning in order to show it to people watching. That's what I need to do. So I would say 90% of my photos have come off the original clip that's out there for the BG, but I need to use color enhancements to show what I need to show, because honestly, it's a blurry video. It's very faded, and you can't show things unless they're in sometimes a different color. So that's what I manipulate for the most part. The picture on the screen, however, is artificial intelligence. So this picture was derived from underneath that bridge. So basically, I just took that photo that Frank had sent me. I used the program, and I could see, okay, just see that there was a what seemed like a silhouette of a body. I put it into AI. Wasn't expecting nothing, but what's so funny I find about AI is that literally when you literally have nothing is when something appears. So this photo to the left is what AI created of virtually out of nothing, what I thought was nothing. And then I'm like, oh my God, that looks like Ashley Garth. And I haven't overly looked at it because I just came across it again yesterday. But when I look at this, I'm like, how did AI, out of basically what I could see or any, right? Because I'll never say that there is a person underneath there or not. I do not know. Regardless, doesn't stop me from trying to see if there is.
Yeah.
So I get this white kind of face thing with what looks like, the markings of a hair. And I'm like, okay, it's a guy type of thing. And then and then this derived. And I'm like, well, that looks just like Ashley. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I mean, just like if you look at, hold on a second, let me just go to the Facebook where it is. But if you look at like this line, for instance, I mean, there's a clear creased line that kind of does the same thing. There's a little mole on her lip here, and there's a little what I call, well, I'm not going to clarify that it's a mole. Don't know. I'm just saying, but there's a little mark here. But I was just amazed how much this picture looked like Ashley Garth, and she has a big, what looks like a goose egg here. It's like, so I think Curly said he likes eggs. What about goose eggs, Curly? Do you like those?
And Sonny, this is the picture that they sent you, or
yeah. So they sent me the picture, and all I simply did was bring it in closer, and I used the manipulation of color, to like black and white.
But what had been done to the picture before you got it? Because
that's what I don't know.
Because there's no picture under that bridge where someone can outline a nose and a mouth,
correct,
and eyes and a hairline. So there's been an overlay already done to that picture before you're doing what you're doing to it.
Right. And so for me, I take that always with a grain of salt. If I didn't myself personally get the picture, it's always taken still with the grain of salt, because this is what I was talking about with Steve before. I like to do my own work. I like to find those answers for myself. So
she sent me a picture the other day, and I sent her back a report, and she said she just wanted me to look at the picture. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, so that was so funny, and I felt so badly because I sent him this picture that I said, hey, look, could this possibly be a badge? It was something that I came across a long time ago, and just because of the whole fact of people keep saying about, could he have portrayed himself as a police officer? So anyway, so I sent Steve this picture, just really like, do you see any image at all that could resemble a badge? And then I got this full report back, and I'm like, oh no, I didn't mean for you to do that. But it was like, I laughed because it was like, he literally spent all this time giving me like the bullet points. And
some people think I'm being rude when I like ask questions like that, but I just want to know people's process of how they got to the result of the picture that they got, and
right.
And I know Sunny always explains, like, she's always like, this is what I did,
and I've showed it actually in many videos,
because a lot of people don't.
My work, and then and I remember some guy was talking about channels, and he was kind of dissing or kind of going over some channels, and then I remember him saying, which I appreciated, was that he goes, you know what, there's only one channel that actually shows you the work, and then he was referring to my channel, so he said, so I got to give her props for that, because she's at least showing you how she got from point A to point Z type of thing. And that is what I try to do. And this here, right here, like I said, this was something of nothing, I thought. And then the left side picture produced itself on the AI, I was like, whoa. Now, by that same token, and this is my I guess it brings exposure, but there was this one guy that would come in here, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Todd. His name is Todd. So some guy used an AI off of a video, and next thing you know, this AI program created glasses on his face. And so his word, and he said that he was in video or camera fixing or
Talked
whatever
to
it
him
was.
last week.
Pardon?
I talked to him last week.
Okay. And I was like, dude, at no point is this BG wearing glasses. Like at no point, but AI created that impact. And I that's what's very deceptive to people that are following the case is
Right.
that they come across that information, they start believing it's true. Okay. If you have 25 years experience, then you got to be a little bit smarter than that. I'm so sorry. But you can clearly look at the BG's face, the face that they put out there on ISP, and at no point is that BG wearing glasses whatsoever. But if he wants to think so, because somebody made a video that distorted it because of AI, that's his prerogative, of
Right.
course. But it's just frustrating when it's kind of like, okay, at no point, if you did your homework, why would you never look at the original video first? Why would you
Or even question where it came from.
Yeah. Like, meaning you don't take something secondary and then all of a sudden glasses are formed when you haven't even used the original video to determine if the person was wearing glasses or not. That's just common sense that you use the original video as
Right.
your base, So
And if someone can't provide the answer to you, then to me that kind of discredits it right away. So, but that's just
yeah. Yeah.
I think that some misinformation gets spread. I think some misinformation gets spread out, and then next thing you know, I think people are like, "There's a 22-foot long body laying under the bridge."
But at the end of the
Either the scale will fit or it won't. And the only way
Right.
to really test is do the controls.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, Steve,
But
again, let you go. Appreciate your work. Hopefully we can do this. I hope you don't leave here going, oh my God, they kept me on for almost 4 hours.
right, we catch him on way later than Marvin Frank do.
What's the record? Where do I stand on the record?
13 hours is our personal record between me and Adam. But as for a live of a guest being on, I'd say that you hold it now. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
on
so.
it. All right. And I'm gonna hold you. I'll come in and interrupt anybody else that gets close to this record.
Oh,
To be honest,
okay, how long are we at?
we're at 3
Oh, yeah.
hours and 47 minutes. And to be honest with you, I could sit here for hours again, still asking him questions
Yeah.
and pick his brain. But maybe that can be done another night with us.
I'll think of more for sure.
You whatever I can do to help y'all to help anyone, regardless if it's this case or next case, or just further educate our communities. That's all.
If you need lip gloss recommendations, we're here
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Which, Sonny, we got to do that before we leave.
I was going to say we have to do that. Steve, you got to fake it till you get some.
But Steve, thank you so much for being
Steve's going to have his water for lip gloss.
and sharing everything with us.
Yeah.
This is my lip gloss container.
Yeah. And so don't forget, you guys, Wednesday night, a special guest will be we'll be talking about the dark web and the red rooms. And so that would be great as well. And Steve said he'll be on about 8:00 with him and Miss Steve on Wednesday night. And again, please go and subscribe to Steve's channel. And I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Take care. Good night, guys.
Everyone have a good night. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Deb, that you weren't here on there. Take care. Take care, guys. Oh, actually, hold on. Before we go, let's say a big thank you to
Cordy.
To Cordy, $50 donation. Callie, $9.99. Alexa, $5 donation. Again, yesterday we had Isaiah donating twice at $49.99. Sleuth Intuition. And again, it will be a nice video for Kelsey that we'll do and give to the family, give to Kelsey, give to Becky, and Sloop. There she is. And of course, much love to the mods, Belinda and Peace Not Silence, and anyone else. I'm sorry if I missed you. That was Tattoo You. Thank you very much for dropping the links for the channels. And please, if you could, just like and maybe subscribe. Consider it, perhaps.
Please. And go over and subscribe to me too.
Oh, see, Adam, did you drop your link?
No.
Or Peace, can you drop Adam's link before we go? And Steve's one more time.
I'm just playing. I don't
Actually,
care. Oh, and Dave.
Adam?
And Dave became a member.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Dave. Dave Dean became a member today.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Make sure that you join the private Facebook group. Cordy, again, thank you for your donation, and thank you for your comments as well.
Sonny, I got bronzer on my shirt, and it's driving me crazy. It's like bronzer.
Oh,
that's why I'm like sitting here like this the whole time.
Yeah, you peed on your shirt.
No, because it looks like weird BO, but I'm like, it's bronzer from my filter.
I feel like you were sweating for me. I feel like that's what happened. Yeah, 1 sec. Okay, we'll just do that. You guys, thank you so much. And Adams and Deb's live was a great success as well. 100 and I can't even remember. I think what the top. I think
94.
No. Yesterday, you guys had like at one point 190 something.
194.
100. Yeah, is that what the top one was? Okay, that was amazing. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Sunny, Deb, and Adam in chat. Thank you, Kimmy. Thank you, Peace, QWERTY Tattoo, Alexa, Belinda, Kimmy. Who's Aspen? Let's skip over him. A USA. Again, and if we didn't get to your questions, I'm sorry. We'll have hopefully Steve on another time soon.
Right. I didn't Ben Foxwell in the chat. I really appreciated a lot of your comments, and I liked your insight into a lot of things. So
yeah.
Your name was not something I was familiar with, but I hope that you come back and visit at some time.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Anyway.
And Mike, let's see here. Okay, so there is Steve. Please go give him some love and support. I know his channel will thrive and do well. And pretty soon we'll be begging him, going, "Can we please come on your channel, please? Can you make
too busy for us."
I know,
so,
no.
And thanks, Fig, for dropping in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And Fig, thank you for dropping in. Again, if anyone wants to donate to Kelsey's wedding, it's on for the 25th. There's the PayPal link. Obviously, YouTube takes 30%, so you don't want them to take 30%. Then send it through PayPal. And and then there's the join as well. And just a last thing on that one, if you do join and become a member of Paw Patrol or higher, please send me an email at acrimingshame@gmail.com, and then send me your face. Send me your face.
Right.
No, send me your YouTube name and your Facebook name, so I know that it's you. Okay. And with that being said, thanks, Adam.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Hey,
I will see you.
Yeah. Didn't we tell Deb that we could go longer? Like when Mom's away, the cats, will play.
We'll keep going for like 2 more hours if we keep this up at. So
unfortunately, husband said you have till 10:30, which is 6 minutes away.
Well, that would give us the perfect amount of time to end the chat and then talk behind the scenes.
Yeah, right.
No, but everyone have a good night. Thank you so much.
I'll FedEx you my face. Okay, Alexa. And Alexa, I look forward to having you on as well when you're ready. Just let us know when you're ready, and would love to have you on. Now, I mean, heaven forbid it should be while Deb's away. Just saying. A guest every night. Was she's gone? No. Really? Someone has to fill in for Deb, right? Yeah. Anyways, you guys, take care. Have a great night. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. And then broadcast.